Good morning, everybody. What's going on? DK Show coming to you right now on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online to stream up at sportstalk1051.com. You can download the app, take it on the go. Video streams, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch. Don't forget about those Alexa devices, too. Just say, Yo, Alexa, play WAYY. But a happy Friday, everybody. We made it to the end of the week here. What do we got on our game plan for us this morning as we wrap up that week? Well, we're wrapping up the week, but we begin the second half of the Major League Baseball season. All-Star break is officially over with, and now we can get back to your regularly scheduled programming when it comes to Major League Baseball. Brewers will begin on the road with a big series taking on the Dodgers. Couple late games coming at you for the next couple days here. 9-10 first pitch for the Brewers tonight. In La La Land, Quinn Priester's going to be on the mound, taking on Tyler Glass now. And then we get Freddie Peralta on the mound for the Brewers tomorrow. And then Jose Quintana will get the series finale on Sunday. Then the Brewers will travel over to Seattle for 3 quick games before returning home on the 25th, where they will be taking on the Marlins. So we'll talk some Brewers as we get back to previewing some games coming up here. And again, big one going up against the Dodgers. Can the Brewers get another series win against the Dodgers? How about that? Especially in their ballpark, that'd be something. But you got to imagine, I would think that the Dodgers, remember, want a little revenge on their minds and such. But nonetheless, it should be a good one. I would think so. We got Freddie going tomorrow. Quintana, Priester's been solid this year, so we'll find out the latest on Sal Frelick probably later today with that grade 1 hamstring strain. So he'll be monitored. So, we'll find out probably today whether he's going to be on the injured list or not. So speaking of injuries, we will catch up with Dr. Crow this morning, a little less than an hour from now, for our Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Inside the Trading Room. So, but plenty of baseball talk coming at you, including when our guy Brandon Berg comes on here next hour too. So get to that. Also, today's the day, Friday, that quarterbacks and rookies and injured players all report to Green Bay. Training camp just a few days away from officially beginning and such. But those quarterbacks and rookies and injured players must report to Green Bay. So we will continue as we start to wrap up our Packers training camp countdown series, our storyline series, as we inch closer and closer to the start. We've highlighted different storylines surrounding this team as they get set to begin training camp and preseason. We've covered coaches, we've covered different position groups, offensive line, defensive line, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll got a couple more to get to here. So we'll hit that up coming up probably at the back end of this hour. Also, Brandon and I in the next hour, we are going to go over our quarter of a century teams. Been seeing a lot of people doing that right now, and understandably because it's July, and July is, my opinion, probably one of the slowest sports months out there. But nonetheless, Brandon has we tasked him last week with this, that he has to come up with the Brewers quarter of a century team from the last 25 years, and I got the Packers one. I've got the Packers one. So Brandon will reveal his picks for the Brewers quarter of a century team, and I'll reveal my picks for the Packers quarter of a century team. So if you want to play along, if you got some time, you can hit me up with an email or such. If you want to do the Brewers one, the Packers one, both of them, by all means, please do so. All right. You could just, probably going to be easier to email it because it's a lot. Hit me up, Dan at sportstalk1051.com, if you got a few minutes this morning to do that and see how ours stack up with each other. So, again, it's got to be from the last 25 years. And I guess you could do it however you want, but, if somebody just played for 1 year in the 2000s, I'll just say I don't have them on my list. I'm looking at players who have spent the majority part of their career from 2000 to 2025. That's how I have it. So, but we'll get to that coming up next hour, and that should be a lot of fun. And and I think Brandon did this too, but part of our top 5 plus, I did list my top 5 players from the last 25 years. So have a little fun on this TGIF Friday. Speaking of fun, also we'll do the AJM Automotive Pump the Brakes Full Throttle. That's going to be coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, along with cream of the crop, bottom of the barrel. So if you want to, again, as always, play along with our cream of the crop, bottom of the barrel, make your own picks, you can do that too. Just hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. So that's your game plan for this Friday as we wrap up the week here. So let's get right to it, shall we? Let's talk some Brewers. Okay, as we begin the quote unquote second half of this season, get a get a series to actually be talking about and previewing and such, going up against the Dodgers. Can the Brewers pick up where they left off? Can they continue that momentum? 7 wins in a row before the All-Star break. Can they continue that wave, that momentum? And what's a goal for the Brewers? The main goal for the Brewers, I was reading this from MLB.com where they had all their writers that cover each team. And for the Brewers, Adam McCalvy, the one goal for the Brewers was compete. The Brewers have used analytics to their advantage while making the postseason in 6 of the past 7 seasons. But the way old school manager Pat Murphy sees it, there's more to their success than spreadsheets. When he was asked on Sunday what his team did best in the first half, Murphy pondered a moment and said one word: compete. That sounds simple, but it takes incredible effort when a team doesn't have the sort of offense that can simply power its way to blowout wins. Said Murphy, quote, I think they like to compete, and that's the best thing. A lot of guys aren't well known in the major leagues, and it creates a little edge. I like that mindset, creating a little edge there. So, but we'll go through that and more as we kind of preview this series with the Dodgers coming up here too. So, what are you, outside of wins, obviously, but what are you going to be kind of paying attention to the most here? Coming up, what do you have your eye on? Like, all right, kind of like that parent, like I've got my eyes on you. I'm watching you. I'm watching to make sure you behave. That sort of thing. So what are you kind of doing now with the Brewers outside of wins? Because we all want wins, right? We all want wins. But what do you hold, kind of keeping your eye on with this team? Is it, that compete factor, that edge and such? What do you think? Think about that for a little bit and let me know. But let's get things rolling here this morning. I want to jump right into it and talk some games, talk some baseball games here because we're back at it. So a big Friday coming at you. Let's do this. All right, let's do this. Quick break. The leadoff coming up. We'll talk some Brewers baseball after these quick words. Get on the bus with us for Brewers Giants, August 24th, the Euchre celebration game. Going through with Wisco Trips. Just head to wiscotrips.com to reserve your seat on the bus. Your package includes a game ticket, round trip motor coach transportation, tailgate party from Premier Catering, which includes your brats, your hot dogs, your chips. You're welcome to bring your own choice of beverages for the bus ride and the tailgate party as well. All the details located at wiscotrips.com, wiscotrips.com. But got to imagine these are going to go quick, especially since it's the Euchre celebration game and a game that could uh, have an effect on a little bit of the playoff race too. So again, wiscotrips.com. Reserve your seat on the bus right now. Speaking of Brewers, let's pitter patter and let's get at her and let's talk a little Brewers as we get set for this 3-game series between the Dodgers on the road. Brewers, not that long ago, sweeping the Dodgers just, a couple weeks ago. Got to imagine the Dodgers going to be wanting to enact a little bit of revenge on this. But we've got Quinn Priester on the mound tonight for the Brewers. 7-2 with a 3.55 ERA. His latest outing, picking up a win against Washington back on the 11th, where he went 6 innings, just giving up 2 earned runs. When we look at what Quinn Priester has done so far in the month of July, and just a couple starts, 1-0 with a 5.06 ERA, though, because that one start against Miami on the 4th, he gave up 4 earned runs. But he had that month of June where he was 4-0 in 5 games with a 1.98 ERA. So Brewers will be going up against Tyler Glasnow, who they just went up against back on the 9th. Glasnow went 5 innings, giving up just 2 hits, struck out 5, no earned runs in his first start since being on the injured list for quite a bit. So his first 2 games back will be against the Brewers here. So kind of looking a little bit at the lineups. Dodgers, not familiar with Quinn Priester at all. Brewers, obviously just coming off of their game against Tyler Glasnow. But you've got, Yelich, who has actually historically struggled against the right-hander. He's had 11 at-bats and just an 0.91 average with a 182 OPS. Bryce Terang, he's had some success in his limited action. Couple games worth, 5 ABs, hitting 400 with an 800 OPS. Even Bowers, 1.400 OPS, just 250 average, but that's because he hit a dinger in his 4 career at-bats against him. So other than that, you got a couple guys here with just that 1 game experience. Contreras, 6 career at-bats against him, just a 143 OPS. He hasn't had much success against him either. So will Glasnow have the advantage tonight going up against this team just, a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago or so? Or will it be Quinn Priester, who the Dodgers don't really have any experience going up against? So then you got Saturday's matchup with Freddie Peralta, the All-Star. He's going to get the starts for the Brewers in that contest. And Sheehan's going to get the starts for the Dodgers. And you look at Freddie Peralta, and we've talked about it how many times. The dude has just been on a hot streak right now, winning his last 6 games in a row, his last 6 starts. And so far in July, in 3 games that he has pitched, he is 3-0 with a 1.45 ERA. My opinion, he is the first half MVP for the Brewers, especially he's just been Mr. Consistent all season long, tied for the most wins by a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball with Max Fried with that 11-4 record. When you look at Freddie Peralta, he went up against the Dodgers back on the 7th, picked up that win, going 6 innings, just giving up 5 hits, no earned runs, and struck out 7. When you look at Emmett on the other side here, so far this season, in 3 games that he's appeared, he started 2 of them, 1-0 with a 2.03 ERA. His latest outing coming on the 12th against San Francisco, where he went 4 1/3 and just gave up 2 hits, 1 earned run. So when you look at the experience between these lineups and such, obviously Dodgers, quite a few players that are very experienced going up against Freddie Peralta. I mean, Mookie Betts, 11 career at-bats, does have a homer, but hitting just 0.91 against him with a 455 OPS. You got Freeman, 273, 804 OPS with a home run. Rojas, 265, 15 career at-bats. Smith, 200 in 10 career at-bats. So, I mean, Ohtani, 6 career at-bats against Freddie Peralta, has a home run, 333 average, 1.389 OPS. So, I mean, you got, Freeman, Edman with over 20 career at-bats against him. They've had some success against him, obviously with the 6 ABs with Ohtani against him too. A little bit of success. Other than that, I mean, and then Rojas is 267 and 15 career at-bats. So, but again, ton of experience with a lot of these Dodger hitters going up against Freddie Peralta. None for the Brewers hitters going up against Sheehan. So, and then the series finale on Sunday, Brewers are going to be starting Jose Quintana in the getaway day. And then on the flip side, it's going to be Kershaw. So a couple left-handers going at it. And this is a game where, yes, we've got quite a bit of experience on both sides here. And that's what you expect from 2 starting pitchers who have spent the majority parts of their career in the National League. When you look at the Dodgers lineup going up against Jose Quintana, I mean, Mookie Betts has 31 career at-bats against him, 258, 722 OPS. Freddie Freeman, 18 career at-bats, 278 average, 935 OPS. Ohtani just has a couple of at-bats against him. Rojas, 14 at-bats, 286. So, I mean, some solid numbers going up against Quintana. Then on the flip side, this Brewers lineup, who obviously we know just played against Kershaw in that Jacob Mizorowski and Clayton Kershaw matchup. So experience from earlier this season. Got to imagine that Kershaw maybe wants a little revenge there. But yeah, Contreras with 10 career at-bats against him. And that was a game he had, believed, a couple like dribblers to third base where he got on those little swunts, those little like almost bunt type of hits. But 10 career at-bats. He's hitting 500 with a 1.500 OPS against Kershaw. And again, Christian Yelich has had a really good success against Kershaw throughout his career, even in a lefty-lefty matchup. Yelich, 27 career at-bats, a couple of home runs, 333 with a 1.012 OPS. So other than that, not a ton of good luck. I mean, Churio in 6 career at-bats has a 333 average, but that's a couple games where Frelick is 0 in 7 career at-bats against him. So be interesting to see how that one matches up here. So it's an intriguing series, obviously, because it's Brewers Dodgers, and considering what just happened, a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, and such. But also, you've thrown out, obviously your ace, Freddie Peralta, in the middle part of the series. Quintana has been solid this year. Quinn Priester has been solid this year. So I'm excited to see whether the Brewers can kind of pick up where they left off before the All-Star break. Can they continue their momentum? Can they continue to be competitive, as Pat Murphy kind of summed it up on Sunday, what his team did in the first half? Can they remain competitive? Can they remain, being that team with a little bit of an edge to them? And can they just begin the second half on a hot start, going up against one of the better teams in all of Major League Baseball? So I'm just ready to get back to ball and then getting ready to talk about these games and watching these games, listening to these games, and just getting back to baseball here. So, But it's going to be a tough test, no doubt about it, going over to the West Coast and going up against this Dodgers team. And it might be a little bit tougher if Sal Frelick is not in the lineup, because then you're kind of testing your depth in the outfield. Again, we'll probably find out a little bit more we will later today, how that's going to shake out. I wouldn't be surprised if Frelick's not in the lineup, not only for this game, but maybe for this whole series. But then you kind of wonder, how is that lineup going to shake up? I'm assuming they would call up somebody, whether it's Cameron. I don't know if Blake Perkins would be ready at this point, but or do they put Yelich in left and put Isaac Collins in right field and keep Cheerio in center field and such? Then, who do you throw in at DH? Does Bowers get a little bit of action at DH? Vaughn kind of going back and forth there. But, it'll sting not to have Frelick, especially, kind of setting the tone at that leadoff spot if he is out of the lineup. I mean, we've gone over the numbers and how much the offense has improved over the course of the last month, with Frelick being the permanent fixture at that leadoff spot, but also his defense. I mean, he's a Gold Glove winning outfielder, for crying out loud. So, I mean, his defense is really going to be missed going up against the Dodgers and these hitters in this lineup too. So, but I would imagine if he's not, Terang's probably going to go back to being the leadoff hitter and such. But it's a tough test. It's a tough test for this Brewers team that finished on an amazing stretch in the first half of the season. They're in a dogfight with the Cubs for the division lead. It's going to continue to be a fight for some playoff positioning, whether it is for the division lead or for a wild card spot with the rest of the National League. The Brewers currently holding on to that number one spot in the wild card chase. So, and it won't get any easier after this Dodger series too, when you kind of look at, they got to go to Seattle. Seattle's a team that's also competing for a playoff spot. They got an MVP candidate in Cal Raleigh, who is just tattooing the ball as of late. So Brewers beginning a little bit of a West Coast trip here to begin the second half of the season. So, and if you want to do a little scoreboard watching as well, I mean, the Cubbies are going to be going up against the Boston Red Sox, and that actually is the first game that'll get started today, 1:20, and Boston, maybe the hottest team, along with the Brewers, heading into that All-Star break, winning 10 in a row. So, go Red Sox. Can they pick up where they left off and maybe help out the Brewers here a little bit in terms of the standings in the NL Central for getting into first place and such? But we've kind of touched on this week, what are your biggest concerns, what are your biggest questions as we get into the second half of this season and such, and there was a few different answers, and there really isn't right or wrong ones over there. But I look at a few different things. Can this team stay healthy? Can they not have any major injuries to main players? Obviously, Sal Frelick banged up right now with that hamstring injury, but can they limit the amount of injuries, whether it was to their starters, whether it's to other players, position players? Can they stay healthy? Because remember what happened last year at this time. Yelich went down for the year. Brewers were still able to get to the postseason and win the division, but you hope something like that doesn't happen again this year. And speaking of Yelich, can he continue to provide a little bit of pop in this lineup, leading the team in home runs? Is that something that's going to continue? Can he continue to, right now, really be the main home run threat in this lineup for the Brewers? What is Christian Yelich going to look like in the second half of this season? Especially from the power standpoint. That's definitely something I'm paying attention to. I'm looking at Andrew Vaughn, for crying out loud. I mean, just a few games in, and you got a bunch of Brewers fans already ready to build the statue and such. But can he continue, just in this very small sample size that he has provided for the Brewers? Can he continue to have the impact that he has already had on this team? and maybe make it a difficult decision. If he stays hot and Reese Hoskins comes back next month, then you've got some decisions to make in playing time. But if Andrew Vaughn continues to play very well, you know, to maybe kind of showcase he can be a threat within this lineup, I mean, that's a huge win. That's a huge boost for the offense of this team. So, what is Andrew Vaughn going to continue to provide for this Brewers team in the second half of this season? Obviously, Mizorowski and his innings. Is this something that we're going to have to watch? And how much are they going to be paying attention to? How strict are they going to be with the innings when it comes to Jacob Mizorowski? Are they going to try to push the envelope? Are they going to be, you know, very strict with it so they don't try to be, too pushy and try to extend him too much, considering, he's approaching already the most innings he's pitched in a single season? How much are they going to ride on the Miz for the rest of this season and into the postseason? Because obviously you want the Miz to be able to go in the postseason if you get there, right? I mean, you want to be able to have him available to pitch in that. So that's another thing to kind of follow along for the second half and kind of pay attention to as well. And then, offense overall, are they going to make a move by the trade deadline? Are they going to acquire a power bat? Are they going to acquire more pieces to maybe make them a little bit more of a complete offense? Or is this offense going to kind of, stay the course and be this offense, a team that kind of grinds out these victories? They may only have like what those 1 or 2 innings where they put up their runs, but they're grinded out close games. Or is the front office going to make a move and try to give them a little bit more help in the offensive side so that maybe they're not constantly in those tight, grinded out type of games? So there's a few different things to be following and paying attention to in this second half for this Brewers season. But I mean, you look at it and seeing the position that they're at, 56 wins, 16 games over 500. Let's buckle up and let's get ready for this ride, man. I mean, chasing the Cubbies down, 1 game back, top spot in the wild card when like a lot of us, including myself, thought the only way this team can make the postseason or any team in this division was probably to win the division because of how deep the National League is. And here we are. And don't forget about the Cardinals. They're right behind, even the Reds too. I mean, these 4 teams in this division, it's going to be a heck of a race to the finish line through September. And I'm ready for it. I can't wait. I can't wait to get back to baseball, and I can't wait to see if this team can just kind of pick up where it left off. Because if they can, man, we got the makings of maybe another special season, or at least, another spot in the postseason. All right, let's take a quick break here. We'll be back in just a few minutes to wrap up the first hour already. Just flying on through. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. 2 weeks from today, we'll be doing a show from Lake Alley Golf Course because it'll be the 5th annual Casper Classic, and I hope you can join us. We got two more spots open for the 1 p.m. tee time. So please, it's a fun outing. All right, it's a fun outing that goes for a good cause for backyard dreams. If you've already signed up a team for the 1 p.m., get a couple buddies. All right, it's a two-person team, $90 for the team. So split it in half between, yourself and a buddy, and it's just $45, and that includes the meal. That includes a couple drinks, your round, 9 holes, your carts. So head on over to sportstalk1051.com and sign up now so we can make this 5 straight years of selling out. But a big thanks to our partners. We got Lake Cali Golf, Park Ridge Distributing, Edward Jones, Financial Advisor, Kelsey Nikolai, Carpet City Flooring Center, VFW Post 305, Myron Construction, Doodah Gin, AJM Automotive Services, Hy-Vee and Eau Claire, Economy Furniture, Muldoon's Menswear, Home Oasis, Service Master, and Trillium Spinal Care. And then a big thanks to some awesome organizations and people who have donated or will be donating raffle prizes. And if you're interested in helping out and donating a raffle prize, because those funds all go straight to Backyard Dreams, that would be amazing. But a big thanks to Chippewa River Industries, Awards, and more for that beautiful decanter set. VFW Post 305, shout out to Donna for putting together a package and donating it. Service Master donating some sweets. If you're a card collector, you're going to like this one. So big thanks to Service Master. We got the chair from Spectrum Industries, Economy Furniture also with the chair, Myron Construction with the Packers baskets. That looks awesome too. And then, we got the Packers football. We've got some Brewers tickets over there too. So big thanks to everybody who has dropped off some raffle prizes for the outing too. But we need two more teams for that 1 p.m. tee time, 2 weeks from today, Friday, August 1st. All right, let's finish up this hour, continuing our Green and Gold's training camp storyline countdown. We've talked about players, we've talked about coaches and position groups as we start to wrap this thing up because, first practice is next Wednesday. Quarterbacks, rookies, injured players, all reporting today. And one area that I kind of want to take a look at is I want to talk about the sophomores on this team. Because when you look at this ball club from last year, you had a lot of rookies really step up and be pivotal, big-time players for this team. And starting off with a couple of them, we've talked about Edrin Cooper already quite a bit. I think Edrin Cooper can be a potential difference maker on this team. Evan Williams showed how important he is to this defense last year. Javon Bullard getting mentioned as, going to get a ton of playing time at the slot role, safety as well, kind of showing his versatility on there as well. But also, we're expecting more from Jordan Morgan this year. The first-round pick from last year was banged up. So can he be competing for a starting spot this year? And then, Marshawn Lloyd, who's going to be probably the primary backup to Josh Jacobs. We didn't get to see him a lot last year either because of injuries. We talked about Hopper, a third-round pick last year. Didn't get to see him a ton on the defense. Was mostly a special teams player. But he is a third-round pick. I would imagine there's some expectation for him to make a jump this year to be counted on. But why am I bringing up sophomores or second-year players to this? Because it doesn't always happen, but we have seen at times where that sophomore season for some guys, it's a little bit of a sophomore slump. It's a little bit of like maybe, because in their rookie years, after their college seasons, they're just constantly, on the go. It's like combines, it's pro days, and then you're at rookie minicamp or rookie orientations, and then you jump in, to training camp and preseason and into the season and such. It's like football, football, football. And this past offseason was kind of their, first maybe deep breath, really, after completing their college season and going through the draft process and such. This was kind of like finally an off season for them. And I don't know if that's the reason why we have some sophomore slumps and such, but we have over the years, not just Green Bay, every team has gone through that quote unquote sophomore slump with some players. And for me, when I look at, especially on the defensive side here, you hope that's not the case for a guy like Edrin Cooper, for Evan Williams, for Javon Bullard, guys who are going to be counted upon to be key figures on this defense. I mean, you're talking about a couple starters, right? I mean, we saw how important Evan Williams was as a rookie on the back end, paired up with Xavier McKinney. He was out. They had to shuffle around a lot with Javon Bullard. Now, they're probably a little bit more protected in the corner spot with some depth with Hobbs and that. But, we saw last year how much of an effect this had on the defense when, a guy's missing time or a guy leaves due to injury and you got to put somebody else in that spot. It kind of ruins the game plan that Jeff Hafley and the defense essentially, began the game with or want to essentially do. So can Evan Williams, can Edrin Cooper, can Javon Bullard take another step in year two? Can they get better in year two? Or are they going to hit a little bit of that sophomore wall, that sophomore slump that sometimes we see? And then, offensively with Morgan and Marshawn Lloyd, I don't know if we would even call it a sophomore slump, to be honest with you, because we barely got to see both those guys last year in the regular season. So it's almost kind of like they're starting new. They get like a reset button pushed on their NFL careers. And when you look at Morgan, is he going to be a starter this year? Can he beat out a Sean Ryan or anybody else on that line? Is it possible he could beat out Walker at left tackle? I don't know. Seems like the likely one's going to be Sean Ryan, but who knows? I mean, Sean Ryan was solid last year too, but Jordan Morgan's got to be a starter. He's a first-round pick. He has to be a starter. Has to be. So how does he kind of look in his second year after missing a ton of time due to injuries last year? Hopefully he's healthy because, again, he's going to be counted upon. Another second-year guy that's going to be counted upon to be a key figure on this team. And then Marshawn Lloyd, a guy that we didn't get to see a whole lot of, maybe a couple of snaps last year, a couple of reps. I mean, there's excitement for him, no question about it. There's a ton of excitement for him, but we just didn't get to hardly see anything from him last year. And Josh Jacobs, thankfully, was healthy. But if he does go down, knock on wood, that doesn't happen, Marshawn Lloyd's going to be the next man up. And can he take some of that pressure off of Josh Jacobs in the running game? And then you kind of look at a couple of these other sophomores, second-year guys. You look at a guy like, and a lot of it is on the offensive line. Travis Glover at tackle. You got Jacob Monk at center. Kadeem Telford at tackle. These are going to be guys that are right now going to be your main depth pieces on the offensive line. And last year, they kind of showed why they were late round pick rookies or such. Can they make a jump? Can they make an improvement this year? Because if their number is called, we can't have performances like we did in the playoff game against the Eagles. If you're the first option off the bench, you got to play better than what we saw last year in that postseason game. So are we going to see that improvement from these second-year offensive linemen? Remember, that Green Bay invested quite a bit in their offensive line 2 years ago in that draft, and we need to see some improvement from those guys to make those picks worthwhile, to make them good investments. And then Hopper, second-year linebacker out of Missouri, third rounder last year. Got to see something from him. I mean, you invested a third-round pick into this guy. We got to see something from him. Now, right now, I don't know how much playing time he's going to get on the defensive side with Quay and Cooper and McDuffie and, you throw in an Isaiah Simmons. But we need a little bit more than just special teams play from a third-round pick. That's too high of a pick, in my opinion, for somebody just to play exclusively on special teams. I want to see a little bit more from him this year. I want to see what we have with this kid. We got some speed, and last year he was incredibly raw. But he's got some unique athletic traits. But are we going to see that on the defensive side? Are we going to see it on the defensive side? Making plays, utilizing that athleticism that he has. So there's a lot of intriguing second, and then Oladapo, the safety. He's a bigger safety. He's different body-wise than some of the other guys. I mean, he's 6'2", you're talking almost 220. Okay, kind of that box safety. He got a lot of play on special teams. Then, because of injuries last year, got some more time on the defensive side. But what are we going to see from him as well? And then I'll even throw in Kalen King, even though he's technically listed as a one-year guy, but last year was a rookie. He's going to be counted upon to be potentially a top 5-6 corner on this team right now. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm surrounding him, and there's a lot of excitement, intrigue when he was a 7th-round pick last year for Green Bay. But the truth of the matter is that we don't know. We don't know. And then, what about Kamal Hayden, excuse me. Another guy that's going to be in that mix for the cornerback depth. So there's guys left and right on this roster that are entering their second seasons that I would expect are going to be counted upon to play some meaningful snaps. Some more than others. Some are going to be straight up starters. Some are going to be, filling in, or, their number is going to be called due to an injury or such. But I look at this roster and I see a lot of guys entering their second year that are going to be key figures in terms of, I think, deciding kind of maybe how far Green Bay can go this year. And I'm curious too. I'm going to throw a wide receiver into this because he was turning heads, and I'm not saying he's going to make the team right now. I'm not going to make that proclamation, but he was turning heads in minicamp. And that was Cornelius Johnson out of Michigan. You look at the depth at wide receiver, it's probably going to be a little hard, but this was a guy that was making plays left and right. I mean, this is for somebody who's on that edge of not making a roster. That's what you got to do. You got to be making plays like in minicamp, and then you go into training camp and preseason already with a little bit of a spotlight on you. I got to imagine Green Bay is going to give him some opportunities right away to continue to make those plays. But this is a team that I'm really curious to see these second-year guys, and you throw in that whole sophomore slump thing. Are guys going to take a jump in year two? Are guys going to take a little bit of a step back in year two? Stay the same? Are we going to see any progression or not? Because for a lot of these guys, we need to see that next step up. Because we're counting on them a lot, especially like the Edgerrin Coopers and the Evan Williams, right? Those guys, Javon Bullard, Jordan Morgan, Marshawn Lloyd, guys that we're expecting to hear their name quite a bit this year. All right, I got a couple minutes to the top, so we'll get back to some more Brewers chat, especially with our guy Brandon Berg. Coming up next hour, though, we're going to kick it off catching up with Dr. Crow inside the training room, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Talk to him about Sal Frelick's injury and such. So We'll catch up with Austin. Then after that, I want to dive into our quarter of a century teams. So if you were listening last Friday, this was our homework assignment. Everybody's doing quarter of a century teams right now. Why not us? Okay, why not us? The teams from the last, you pick your team and you put together the best players from the last 25 years on that team. Brandon is doing the Brewers. I'm doing the Packers. And I've also got my top 5. I did Brewers too for this one, just because I wanted to. But top 5 players from the last quarter century for both the Packers and the Brewers. So if you want to play along, you want to make your teams, or you just want to do your top 5, that's fine. You can, for teams, you might want to email it, Dan at sportstalk1051.com. But if you just want to do your top 5 players from the last quarter of a century for Brewers, Packers, heck, you want to throw Bucks in there too? Why not? But you can text those on over to us on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. I don't know how Brandon's Brewer team shaped up, but looking at mine for the Packers, there is a certain point in time in the last 25 years that makes up the majority of this team. And kind of looking back at it, I'm like, dang, all right. There was a little bit of stretch, and maybe that makes you think, wow, they missed out from getting multiple championships instead of just one in the last 25 years. So we'll get to that probably coming up at about 7:20, 7:25. Don't forget, also, AJM Automotive, Pump the Brakes, Full Throttle coming to you in the 8 o'clock hour. And then Cream of the Crop, Bottom of the Barrel. You can make your picks for Cream of the Crop and Bottom of the Barrel if you would like as well. Again, just hit me up with a text, or you can also comment on the video streams and join up the video stream. We set some record numbers yesterday with some video stream numbers, so appreciate that for everybody who's tuning in on the video. I like that. Keep that rolling. Okay, let's keep boosting those numbers up. 1 hour in, got a couple more to go. Busy, awesome, fun 7 o'clock hour. Can't wait for you to tune in for that one. We got some news updates, and we'll be back to kick it all off in just a few minutes.
anything at all and can put a smile on anybody's face regardless of age. For those who are above a certain age, tomorrow also happens to be National Daiquiri Day. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
And that's exactly what I say about taking a little stab at Casper now and then. You think I'm mean? You should try it sometime, guys.
And can put a smile on anybody's face regardless of age.
For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
Another cool start this morning with temperatures ranging in the upper 40s and 50s across the area. For today, sunshine gradually giving way to increasing clouds, and it is going to be pleasant once again, or high in the mid 70s. For tonight, mostly cloudy. We'll have scattered showers and storms developing, a low of 64. Over the weekend, variable sun and clouds, perhaps a lingering shower early tomorrow, and temperatures around 80. On 13 First Alert, meteorologist Derek Dahlman.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies with nationwide LTE coverage. For a limited time, get 60% off and free UPS shipping at rapidradios.com. Use code RADIO for an extra 5% off.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports aficionados and armchair quarterbacks, welcome to the Dan Kasper Show, where sports passion meets expert analysis. Dan's encyclopedic knowledge and infectious passion for all things sports is both impressive and sad.
I have many leather-bound books.
So get ready to laugh, cheer, and maybe even facepalm a few times.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
It's the Dan Kasper Show.
Second hour kicking off on this Friday morning of July 18th. A big thanks for making us a part of your starts if you're already up and at it. We're going to get back to some more Brewers talk coming up here in just a little bit as the second half of the season will officially begin, later today with Cubs and Red Sox. So if you want to do a little scoreboard watching there, go Red Sox if you're a Brewers fan. But Brewers going to be a late one tonight, 9:10 first pitch, as they'll be on the West Coast taking on the Dodgers of LA. So we'll get back some more Brewers talk and all that fun stuff. But we begin this hour catching up with our doctor, Dr. Austin Crowe.
Paging Dr. Crowe. Breaking down the latest in sports injuries. It's time for Inside the Training Room with Dr. Crowe. On the Dan Kasper Show.
He is Dr. Austin Crowe, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Good morning, Austin. How we doing lately, man?
Excellent. Beautiful day out there, ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. So, hey, we get the second half of the baseball season begins today, and one player may not play, we don't know yet, is Sal Frelick, the Brewers right fielder. Now, he was diagnosed, they said, with a grade 1 strain in his hamstring. I know we've talked about kind of like these different grades and such, but, when you see like the MRI and that, what kind of determines whether one's a grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3 when you're looking at that MRI?
Yeah, it's a very subjective thing. So, I mean, when there's certain classifications where we can do measurements or we can do looking for like amount of fibers that are disrupted. For this, it's simply mild, moderate, and severe. So, if you look at it, the radiologist will say, like, that looks like it's a mild one. So what we're looking for is in the muscle belly, or sometimes a muscle tendon junction. You basically look for edema, which is inflammation, fluid bleeding, etc. So when you see that basically you just say, does that look like there's a little area or a large area? And so it's a very subjective thing. So, just after experience of looking at it, you just say, is that one a mild one? So grade 1 being the lowest grade is very mild. So that tells you that they're going to see some signal. That means some of the fibers tore, but not a lot of them. So it should be a fairly quick recovery, but muscles can be fickle, and as people recover from them, sometimes it's something that either it just takes longer to get back than they think, or occasionally you have a situation where they get recurrence, right? So they start coming back, and then that first time they go in a dead sprint, there they pull up again. So that's the tricky part of these, is that you really want to make sure you get past that window where you're not going to have that recurrence, because once you injure it a second time, even if it is relatively mild, those second rounds always take longer, and of course, everyone's always more cautious. So that's what you want to try to avoid.
So what is kind of what would he be kind of doing in the recovery process? Is it just literally just like sitting around and resting the leg and such? Can he do some stretching with that? Does that affect the torn fibers? What's kind of like the rehab process for something like that?
Yeah, and on the first front end, it is a lot of rest. Truthfully, you just want to let the muscle begin to heal, and then you start incorporating things like, whether it's going to be, deep tissue massaging, stretching. You want to prevent a lot of scar formation because it will heal a scar. I mean, when muscle tears, it heals a scar, and that's one of the reasons why people, when they have a bad calf or groin or hammy or whatever muscle you're talking about, they can have it just never quite feels the same, or they're, just that tight feeling. I mean, I had a bad hamstring injury in college, and to this day, I can still feel it slightly, and that's just because there's scar tissue in there. So, point being, you want to try to avoid that as best you can. You have to balance that, where if you're pushing it too early, you continue to aggravate the injury. So, that's where having a healthcare professional on your side of kind of navigating you through it can make that more seamless. But at the end of the day, it's going to be, again, front end, resting, transitioning into, stretching, and then some muscle activation. Ultimately, you start testing it. So you start with things like jogging, and then sprinting, then, really explosive movements. And if those all go well, then you're back to playing.
Yeah. So speaking of kind of like nagging injuries, it seems like Caitlin Clark's kind of going through some of these nagging injuries too. She's got a groin injury right now. She's gone through some quad strains, quad injuries, and such. When you look at some of this, it seems like because she's been missing a couple games here or there, but does a lot of this stuff potentially happen or kind of reoccur because she's returning to the court too quick? And do groin and quad injuries, could those two potentially be related? Why she keeps suffering these?
It's hard to say for sure. I mean, I'd say, can you get compensation in a secondary injury? Yes, you can. I wouldn't say it's classic where we say, oh man, that person pulled a groin, mark it on the calendar, in 2 weeks they're going to hurt their quad. No, that's not a common thing, but to say that they're not linked, maybe a stretch as well. So, and I also wouldn't say it's like, if it's the same injury. So if it's like she hurt her right quad, she gets back, and a week later the right quad fires up again, yes, then you're saying she's going back too soon. That's what triggered that. But conversely, when you start getting injuries in different spots, it's just kind of like, I say fluke, but just kind of the way it is. And I mean, the good thing is that those aren't serious injuries. They're not going to be ones that you're really worried about being long term. But of course, the timing for them with the All-Star stuff is obviously not ideal, but that's the way life works.
Yeah, exactly. And that wouldn't have anything to do with, because I know when we talk about groin injuries a lot when we get to football, because we are getting to training camp and such. I mean, would there be any concern for like hernias type of injuries with that, or is this kind of different?
Well, I mean, that's in the differential. So when people have that kind of groin pain, sports hernias are certainly on the differential, meaning it's a possibility. But presumably, she's had a pretty good workup by some high-end docs that say, look, this is more of an actual groin injury. And truthfully, the groin injury tends to be further down, right? So the tendon insertion up on the pubic bone, that's going to be where you have that overlap between, is this really an adductor, aka groin injury, or is this a sports hernia? If hers is more standard, quote unquote, issue with the muscle, then you're going to be talking a little bit further down. So it's kind of easy, because it's only 3-4 inches apart, but on an exam, it's pretty easy to tell the difference between the two.
So we are getting set for training camp. I know some teams are already have started, like the Chargers and such, because they got the Hall of Fame game. Others are starting to report here in the next couple of days. But these are going to be times too, Austin, where you got these players who are going to start on the PUP list, these physically unable to perform lists to begin the season. And a lot of it could be because they're still recovering from injuries or off-season surgeries and such too, right? I mean, that's kind of where a lot of this is, so maybe don't freak out right away if you're a fan and you all of a sudden see somebody's on a PUP list, right?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people who have procedures in the off-season. I mean, these pro athletes are pushing their bodies to the extreme, and so they get a lot of, quote-unquote cleanup scopes and small procedures that are done to try to kind of optimize them. And of course, those are generally done during the off-season if at all possible. And that leads to that kind of beginning of the season transition where either they're going to go on a PUP list or they're going to have some limitations where they're not going full go. So yes, very common. We see it a lot. And you just got to see the trajectory they're going. And And obviously, new things do pop up, and those can be certainly concerning. But to be surprised by some of the names on the list is you just, again, Christian Watson, for example. It's like, all right, he's recovering from his ACL, going along as expected, but it's going to be unlikely that he's going to be full bore right out the gates. That's just not the way they're going to do it. Even if he feels great, and I know they've been saying that, they're just going to, especially in a revision setting, they're going to treat him with kid gloves.
So how, like with your guy, JJ McCarthy, obviously coming back from his knee issues from last year, would there be any type of concerns as we open up training camp and such, or, is there anything that you're kind of curious to follow along as preseason and training camp open up for Minnesota?
No, I mean, he's a huge unknown at the quarterback. So beyond that, as far as the knee specific, not really. I mean, meniscal injuries are a little bit unique in that it's pretty black and white. I mean, like, it's going to heal or it's not going to heal. So if you look at it and say, okay, did this meniscus heal? And I know there was some controversy in the offseason. He had a second procedure, which turned out to be an injection, which so I think kind of got overblown. He says he feels good. I've seen videos of him moving around. He seems to be moving around well. So it sure looks like that meniscus healed correctly. So it should be like healed and good. And I would bet you my bottom dollar they've had repeat MRI showing exactly that. So they didn't want to do something in the off season, not during camp. So, or certainly the season. So I'm guessing that's going to be going in the right direction. And, but that being said, I mean, he certainly had a different off season than most, right? I mean, with his rehabilitation, that was an actual season even. So, I mean, he may have to watch some things as far as reps, and you don't want to get into overuse injuries and things like that. They're going to always kind of navigate that with guys coming back from whatever injury, in this case a knee, but you just have to kind of walk that fine line of like, all right, we want to get him acclimated, get him going. And certainly at the quarterback position, there's a lot that goes on in kind of a cerebral end, right? It's a mental game as much as it's physical at that position. So I think they're just going to get him as many reps as possible and do it safely.
I know this might be kind of a weird question, but obviously we've talked about Jacob Mizorowski quite a bit, and just how much power he throws with and that. But as we begin the second half of the season, say you were advising the Brewers or you were a part of the Brewers training staff, because one of the things we've been talking about has been his innings count. He hasn't gone over 100 innings throughout any point in his career, and he's approaching that right now as we begin the second half of that season. Is that something that you would be kind of cautious about, advise maybe the Brewers like, hey, let's maybe slow it down a little bit? I mean, because I can't imagine they would take the complete reins off of him to just go out there and throw as much. Is that something that you think the Brewers are going to monitor as we get into the second half?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's zero question on that. So, there's the old expression, it's always better to try to prevent something than treat it. So when it comes to shoulder and elbow issues, which is what you're worried about in the pitcher, right? You want to try to prevent them. So what you don't want to do is push them until you start saying, now my elbow's sore, because then you've already opened Pandora's box. And so what they're going to do is they're going to limit it, and they're going to, whether it's going to be actual outings or innings or pitching, I mean, or some combination of those where, because I think they said they are going to sit him in the first series, right? They're going to skip him in the rotation, I think is what I've heard, maybe, or something to that effect. And I think they're going to probably do a fair amount of that. And then in addition to that, they'll probably say, all right, we're going to, cap him at X number of pitches or innings. And just because, again, you want to ease that in. And certainly if you look at his frame, I mean, he's a tall guy, but he is not exactly burly, right? So, you want to probably see him get a little bit stronger in the next couple seasons to build up more stamina and strength, and that will probably lead to an increase in innings pitched. But I mean, certainly when you look at his talent level, he is not a guy that you want to see burn out early, right? I mean, you harken back to like Strasburg or guys like that just had all the potential in the world and just had injury after injury, right? So it's always something, if you can prevent going down that path, it's way better than trying to treat a problem. So my guess is they're going to keep a real close eye on that. And I mean, even at the hint of an issue, they're going to shut him down. And again, it's even better to try to get that before that. So it may be frustrating, and it is, with if you look back to the days of like Nolan Ryan, who, was just an iron horse and could just throw forever. I mean, those days are gone, and he was a unique guy. So I mean, to try to compare people to that, I don't think it's fair. So you look at what he's trying to do as a pitcher, they're going to want to make sure they protect their asset for the long term.
To kind of wrap it up here, I'm just kind of curious. Not sure if you've been following along a whole lot with this whole NFL Players Association, NFL drama, secrecy, and stuff. But apparently, an arbitrator in February had ruled in favor of the NFL in a grievance that the NFL Players Association encouraged running backs to, quote, exaggerate injuries to increase leverage during contract disputes. So as a doctor, and this was mostly like from my understanding, so running backs wouldn't get like the franchise tag if they were unhappy in at their team. They could quote unquote fake injuries so they won't get fined, and then the team would move on from them and such. But that's kind of a blanket, general statement there. But as a doctor, when you hear something like that, where exaggerate injuries and fake injuries, I mean that's got to make your job a lot more difficult to help these athletes, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, there are things that we have that are very objective, right? So I can get an X-ray and be like, look, your bone is broken, right? Or you tore your ACL, and I can pull on the ligament and it's lax. So those are things that we can objectively say there's an injury. Other things are subjective. People come in and say, I hurt right here, right? We always believe our patients. We don't come in there being like, this guy's lying, right? So you assume they're telling you the truth. And so, yeah, absolutely, that makes it a challenge. It's something that we do navigate. Now, I mean, it's really interesting. I think I've touched on this in the past. I mean, in essence, NFL players, when they have an injury, it's a work comp injury. I mean, that's what it is, right? So their job is playing in the NFL and their injury. So it's a work comp claim. And so we do deal with that in kind of the normal public health when people have injuries that are work related. And there's always that concern that there's some kind of malingering or secondary gain. So it is something you have to be aware of. But even though, I mean, we always try to take people at face value with what they're saying, but there are some times where things don't always add up. And, but in that same token, I mean, people can have pain and we get an MRI and it looks normal. You don't come in the room and say, you're a liar, right? It's just, things don't always add up exactly. So if you have a situation where people are exaggerating or being frankly untruthful about their complaints, that makes it very difficult as a physician to treat them appropriately because in that circumstance, you're treating an imaginary condition, so it's kind of hard to make them better if they weren't bad to begin with, or at least maybe exaggerating. So yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a concern, but I can tell you the team physicians are going to do what they do always, which is going to believe people, treat it appropriately, and that's just something that's going to be have to be figured out in the courtroom as far as like how they navigate that. But yeah, it's a tough situation when you have that issue where people are doing things for financial gain. It kind of puts you in the middle as the physician, but we always advocate for our patients, and that's kind of the side that we have to take.
And kids, don't fake being sick to miss school. That's that right there too. So
rubbing a thermometer on the carpet to heat it up.
Yep. Oh,
I've never did that as a kid.
Me neither, man. Never. So, Austin, dude, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy the weekends, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Okay, bud?
Absolutely. Have a great one.
You too. There you go. Dr. Austin Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to jump right into it. Quarter century teams right away. Brandon's got his piece of paper. I've got my piece of paper too. He's got Brewers. I've got Packers. We'll go through it and then let the debate begin. Quick break, and we'll be back after these quick words. Reminder, if you ever miss our conversations or want to re-listen to our chats with Dr. Crow, they are available as part of the Man Cave podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee. So if you got a few seconds, just click that follow or subscribe. I hate using the word subscribe because it makes it like, oh, you got to pay for it. No, not for our podcast. You don't have to. So follow, subscribe to the Man Cave podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, and be like Brandon and give it a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple because it helps the algorithm bots out there. Gets the word out there a whole lot more. So we'll put that up a little bit later on this morning. And also, if you're not going to be able to listen to this whole thing or you want to re-listen to it, this segment's going to be on the podcast. Quarter century teams, Brandon. Quarter century teams. That's what we're going to be talking about right now. Last week, we gave us a homework assignment. Each of us a homework assignment. Well, first of all, how you doing, man? Okay, you typed that out and you went deep.
It's always easier for me to type things out because even though I can generally read my chicken scratch, I always can't.
Did you put stats on that thing too, bro?
Well, I need reasons for my picks. I mean, I don't have to necessarily deep dive, but it's nice to know I have this stuff in front of me.
Wow. Well, good for you, man. And you got 2 pages. You stapled them. Nice work. You're the kid in school that does that, and this is what I did. I wrote it down, but
you're jumping to a conclusion there. I'll just quote Superbad and say I'm a single mother. I wash and dry.
Jeez. So everybody's doing quarter century teams right now. Why? Because it's kind of July.
It's the dead content period.
It is, and it's the last 25 years. So Brewers is going to be Brandon's role. I did the Packers one. Nobody did Bucks, but I think you and I could probably tag team that one pretty easily, right? I mean, Giannis, Ray Allen, right?
I suppose, but I mean, I figure Ray Allen wasn't there that long into the 2000s.
Right, that's true. Or do you go Michael Redd probably?
Definitely Michael Redd.
Yeah, Giannis, Michael Redd.
I would say Middleton.
Brooke Lopez.
I would be very tempted to put Brooke Lopez on there.
Yeah.
And then your fifth, I mean,
Drew Holiday.
I don't know. I'd have to look a little bit more into the early 2000s. I mean,
yeah, I feel like we're missing somebody in there. Brandon Jennings.
That was a name that stuck out, potentially Brandon Jennings.
Yeah. So, all right, we just did the Bucks one.
There we go.
That was easy. So, do we just want to do one team each? Probably that'd be the easiest,
yeah. Instead of
right?
going back and forth, so it's not confusing. We can kind of segment this out.
Right. So, I don't know how you did it, but for me, kind of what you were just saying there too. My picks were majority part of their career were 2000s or their prime.
Right. And that's how that was. And this didn't generally come up much, but there are a few players where, the grading period starts in the year 2000.
Right.
And there was, I can think of one example where there's one person on my list that had a really good 1999, but that doesn't count. But and there'll be people like, for me, like, well, but like, you think of like Jeremy Burnett or Jeff Cirillo. It's like, but that was more late 90s.
Right.
Like that does not count. That's not the spirit of what this is.
So like for my example, Leroy Butler is not on my list because his final year was in 01.
Right.
It's not to say he's not obviously a Hall of Fame, but the prime was in the 90s.
It's all about the grading period.
Yes.
The grading timeline.
Exactly. So without further, I'm going to give you the honors first, Brandon, because I want you to set the bar high on this thing. So I'm really curious. Do you want to do? Well, first off, did you do backups? Did you just do starters?
I did starters, but I did an honorable mention for each spot.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I figured they're
You really went above and beyond. You are that student. All right, I like it. Though. Content.
All right.
So, without further ado, Brandon.
All right.
The quarter century, the all-time quarter century. Nobody else's teams matter. Brandon is the expert. Here we go. I'm excited to see where this goes.
All right. Well, we'll start a catcher.
Okay.
My choice was Jonathan Lucroy. 2010 to 2016 with the Brewers. Two-time All-Star. Actually finished fourth in the MVP voting in 2014. Great numbers over the course of his career with the Brewers. 779 OPS, hit 284. Biggest thing, too, I think that he gets credit for, and he should, is he was kind of at the forefront of about a decade ago when people be able to really value framing, pitch framing with catchers. He was kind of like one of the poster boys for that. And, he got a lot of value from that as a result. So he was, to me, this was pretty simple. some of these were really easy. Some of these weren't.
Yeah.
And I'll obviously get to that. But so my first team, I guess, however you would say it, would be Lucroy, and my honorable mention would be William Contreras.
Yep.
2.5, 386 games, and most of that's catches. There's some DH obviously mixed in there, but 74 homers, 276 RBIs. Like, I mean, just it wasn't the William Contreras trade at the time. Sean Murphy being dealt from the A's to Atlanta, but it quickly became the William Contreras trade because in a big trade between the A's and the Braves, the best player that was acquired ended up going to Brewers.
Right.
So, just one of those kind of all-timer moves for the Brewers.
Yep.
First base, I mean, this one's easy. Prince Fielder.
Yeah.
2005.
It's not Matt Gamble.
I wish. I was very tempted when I got about halfway through this to also put together like the least honorable mention and just like try to find the worst person for each. But then I just say, maybe that's kind of mean. So,
yeah.
But yeah, Prince Fielder, 230 home runs, played 998 total. I think this is just regular season. So obviously there's some more postseason games in there, but hit 282, 887 OPS, which is about as high as you're going to find from anybody on this list pretty much. 3-time All-Star, third in the MVP voting twice, fourth once. Big thing that, people don't always talk about with Fielder was just how, when he was with the Brewers, how he stayed on the field.
Yeah.
Played on 157 games every year from 2006 to 2011.
Damn.
I mean, he was notable for not wanting to ever not be on the field. You figure out, the game now with the DH in there, that would probably been a little bit easier.
Right.
But yeah, this is arguably one of the easiest on the list.
Right.
And my honorable mention, I want Richie Sexton.
Okay.
Played 4 years with the Brewers, 2000 to 2003 in this time frame. 133 homers, 398 RBIs in that stretch, 902 OPS, so actually a little bit better than Fielder over that stretch. But keep in mind, that's also early 2000s. That's at a time when, for one reason or another, offense in Major League Baseball was really booming. But still, I mean, he was fantastic. And, the Richie Sexton trade to Arizona really helped set the Brewers up for continued success. As much as a little kid, I didn't like it at the time, it was important. Second base, I went Ricky Weeks.
Okay.
A 771 OPS. He played for a little more than a decade in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
When you factor in that he played a little bit in 2003 and then really for the first significant time in 2005, but 148 homers, 126 steals, was an all-star, 3 seasons. If we had at least 20 home runs. Biggest thing for Ricky was always just staying healthy. I mean, that was kind of this is one of those where you look at the numbers and they're good, but you always kind of wonder a little bit more of what if. I mean, he only had 2 seasons where he played at least 130 games. Like and that kind of sucks. And I remember in 2011 when he was an all-star, he actually got hurt in the second half. I believe it was a wrist.
I think you're right.
And he never recovered from that. Like that was kind of a real blow to them because he was an absolute difference maker. And it just, he was out there, he was still playing, he was still grinding as he did, but it's just, you could tell he was just at less than, it's 100%. My honorable mention, this was honestly one of the toughest on the list because you had 4 players who I thought were all about the same in different ways. And so maybe in a little bit of an upset, the one I went with was Bryce Terang.
Okay.
I gave a lot of credit to maybe just because obviously it feels like he's kind of a bit on the ascent. I gave a lot of credit to the Gold Glove, the Platinum Glove. Like that's just something that otherwise hasn't been done. The other guys, I mean, Colton Wong had a good couple, a good year or two. Scooter Gennett, who really didn't become that power threat until after he left Milwaukee with the Reds. Jonathan VR a little bit, but he was more of a shortstop. But I just,
you didn't give credit to the Ray Durham era.
I did not. He had a really good 2008 though when he came at the end. But yeah, this one they were all really close. I just gave the benefit of the doubt to Bryce Terang just for the defense. I mean, even though Colton Wong was a good defender, like when you're literally voted the best defender in the National League, like it does feel like you feel like in these 3 years since he's really been on the Major League roster, like he's getting better.
Yeah,
and I don't know. To me, that was just kind of a bit of a tiebreaker for me. Third base. This one was actually not super deep.
Yeah.
Which I guess now, I mean, obviously Caleb Durber's playing well, but this just seems like this has been a thing for a while. I went to Ramos Ramirez.
I was wondering if that's who you're going to go with.
He was only with the Brewers for 3.5 years, so that kind of says this, but he hit 284, 342 on base, 815 OPS, 65 homers in 455 games, was an all-star in 2014, actually finished 9th in the MVP hit in 2012, his first year in Milwaukee, which was his best year. As far as Ramos Ramirez is intriguing me because he's always kind of struck me as like that guy that was within the last decade or so was good with the Brewers, but no one ever talks about. And it's almost like I just always viewed him as 100% like the hired gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he came from the Cubs. He came off, you know, had a good career with the Chicago. But it was like, okay, they need a third baseman. Prince Fielder left. They spent the money to bring him in. Like, he had a couple good years, kind of tailed off at the end, but he was getting older. He's just someone that you never hear anybody talk about. Like, you don't really ever see anybody at the ballpark wearing an Aramis Ramirez jersey or shirtsy.
Right.
Like, but he was good.
Yep.
Honorable mention, I went back and forth on this, so I almost kind of gave this a little bit of the Lifetime Achievement Award. I went with Bill Hall.
Okay.
Even though he didn't play a lot of third base, and the one year he really did was 08, and he wasn't really that good.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just one of those where, and it kind of went back and forth with him and Travis Shaw. Because Travis Shaw's 2017 and 2018s were good. They're really good.
No love to Casey.
He was another one I kind of thought of, but I ended up going with kind of the, like I said, almost like the Career Achievement Award for Bill Hall, because he was around for a while. And he had some of his best years, but it was at like shortstop and center field, and there was just other people that were better than him.
Right.
There. So that was kind of my, right or wrong, that was kind of my thought process there.
Mm-hmm.
Shortstop, I went Willie Adames.
Okay.
In more recent years, I mean, played, was acquired a couple months into 2021. But overall, his offense at shortstop, great. 780 OPS, 107 home runs, had a really good season, obviously, last year in a walk year. His hit at least 20 home runs all 4 years. Defense always graded well. Like, you could just tell he was like the centerpiece of, he was kind of the sun, as far as like everything else just kind of seemed like when he was there, it gravitated around him.
So was there one, I don't know if your honorable mention, but, the name that popped up to me was JJ.
That's
All-Star.
my honorable mention. Yeah.
Okay. So was there one thing that you picked Willie over JJ because of that, or just?
I just thought he was a little better offensively.
Okay.
I thought they were both solid defensively. JJ Hardy was always that guy that, like, I don't think he had the best range, but everything he got to, you knew he was going to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
So
powerful arm,
great arm. And he actually, after he left Milwaukee, he had a really good second half of his career at Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he might even play longer with Baltimore than he did with Milwaukee. So I just thought that having a little bit more of the power at that spot. 107 home runs for Adames as a Brewer. Hardy at 75.
Mm-hmm.
He was more in a run producing spot. That's not necessarily Hardy's fault. I mean, Braun and Fielder were on that team, so that wasn't his job. But I just gave that was what kind of gave me the edge for Adames over Hardy.
Okay.
Outfield, I just went 3 outfielders, and I'll explain why. Because if I went left, center, and right, it was kind of tough to me because there's 2 really obvious picks.
Yeah. But
they kind of did the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, so I just kind of simplified this. I mean, the first one, Ryan Braun. I mean, this is obvious. This is probably the first choice on this list of anybody anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ryan Braun's obviously on this team. Career 891 OPS, so just a little bit lower, or a little bit above Prince. But I mean, 350 home runs, 216 steals, won an MVP, Rookie of the Year, 6-time All-Star. Say what's wrong about Ryan Braun, but he is the most impactful Brewer player of the 21st century. And
so he would be number 1 on your top 5?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Second outfielder, Christian Yelich.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is another easy one. I mean, MVP, 3-time All-Star, 869 OPS, even, if the OPS is a little bit lower than maybe it was those first 2 years. But still, I mean, we see it now. We see even today the impact he always has. Like when Christian Yelich is going in that lineup, everything else kind of works around him.
Mm-hmm.
The third outfielder, I came down to 2 people. And I think I have a way to make this work. But my third outfielder, I want Carlos Gomez.
Okay.
Gold Glover in 2013, 2-time All-Star, was 9th in the MVP in 2013. Career 267 hitter, 325 on base. Like a guy that really, it took him a bit to figure it out. His first couple of years, he was more of a platoon guy.
Yep.
But his last few years, his peak was really, really good.
Yep.
I mean, plus, if you want to get in the weeds, you can make the case that the Carlos Gomez trade was a significant deal for kind of setting up this modern version of the Brewers with bringing in Jonathan
which was
Luke.
the JJ Hardy trade, right? I mean, they traded Hardy.
But I mean,
Gomez. Then you meant Gomez trading. Okay,
to the Astros.
Yep. Okay.
But and my first honorable mention, but if we're allowing a spot for a designated hitter or an extra hitter, this would be the guy. Would be Jeff Jenkins.
Okay.
181. I mean, and he was the one that had a really good 1999, but that doesn't count in the grading. So 276 hitter with the Brewers, 182 home runs, nearly 600 RBIs, made an All-Star game. He was kind of one of the best players in an era where the Brewers weren't. I mean, that early to mid 2000s, before the Braun and Fielder, young group arrived. Basically, the reason to go to a Brewer game was to see Miller Park.
Yeah.
And he was kind of a stalwart there. He was kind of that bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So
How much did Corey Hart come into your?
My next honorable mention is Corey Hart.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, two-time All-Star, 824 OPS career, 154 home runs, 508 RBIs. He was always kind of like if Fielder and Braun were the Batman, he was kind of the Robin.
Yeah.
Like the joke, Corey Hart's one of my favorite players ever. I mean, he was just this 6'6" kind of caveman looking guy that would just run balls down in right field. But
International Harvester was his walk-up
Yes, it
song.
was.
Everybody knew that. I think.
But
So
the thing I would always joke about with Corey Hart is Corey Hart was either on a hot streak or in a slump. There's no in between.
Yeah.
But he still carved himself out a really good career, and he would be one. He would definitely be that. And my last outfielder, I went a little around with this. Actually, it's just settled on Lorenzo Cain.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there were some other potential options, but hit 273 OPS, a little bit. I'd say 727, but he was never a big power guy. All-Star. His 2018 season was awesome. I mean, he was 7th in the MVP, won a Gold Glove, not that year, but maybe it was that year. I forget. Either way, but just a guy that had two different tenures. Because remember, he had come up with the team a little bit before he was involved in the Greinke trade.
Yep.
So there's a couple others up, but in the end, I just went with Cain. So.
Eventually, maybe Sal will make it for you.
Yeah, we do this in a couple of years. There could be a few more guys that are on this list. It's just that where we're at right now.
Yep.
Starters, I went with 5 starters. I didn't go with like a super deep bullpen just because.
Yeah.
But my 5 starters, honestly, this is pretty easy. First starter, Ben Sheets.
Okay.
I mean, to me, he would be probably like number 3 or 4 if I was doing like a top 5. I think I'd probably go like Braun, Fielder, Yelich, some combination in those 3, and then he would probably be next.
Okay.
Ben Sheets, I mean, he was an ace in an era where he didn't get, that again, this team didn't really have much around him. Him and Jenkins were kind of that bridge to the Braun Fielder era. But I mean, 278 career ERA and nearly 1,600 innings. I mean, he pitched a lot. 4-time All-Star. The last 5 years of his career, his ERA was below 382, which in that era, the balls were still flying out. So. Very tough to do. I mean, and really he did it as a 2-pitch pitcher, which was hard to do. Second starter, Corbin Burns.
Okay.
Won a Cy Young. I mean, we know the story. Once he became he had some success as a reliever in 2018. 2019 didn't go his way, introduced the cutter into his repertoire and changed his life. Won the Cy Young in 2021, 3-time All-Star, 4-time Cy Young finisher of 8th or better. And third, I put Yovani Gallardo. Kind of that bridge between that 2011 group and then 2014, 2015, the newer era, but kind of the ace for those for many years there. 3.69 ERA. I mean, was an all-star. The thing that doesn't get talked about enough with Yovani Gallardo, though, he's a pretty decent hitter.
Yeah,
won a Silver Slugger Award. He's gonna be in the home run derby.
Exactly. Yep.
Like, fourth pitcher, I went Freddie Peralta. I mean, we know him now. He's having arguably his best year. I think you said earlier this week, but I would agree. It's his best year right now. 3.65 ERA, 2-time All-Star now, more than 1,000 strikeouts and 866 innings. I mean, the last few years he's been so vital.
Yeah.
As everything, the changes have happened in the rotation around him, he's just been the guy that every 5th day is taking the ball. I mean, we can get a little frustrated sometimes that he doesn't pitch as deep into games as we would like, but still, it's usually at least 5. I mean, and there's been no blow-ups, this year, and he doesn't have just very many of them. Usually when he comes out of a game after like 4 innings, it's just because he's had 100 pitches, not because he gave up 7 runs.
Right. Yep.
And the last one, Brandon Woodruff.
Yeah.
Just got back to the big leagues, but has an ERA just above 3 with 800 strikeouts and 690 innings. I mean, that's crazy. 2-time All-Star, was 5th in the Cy Young the year Corbin Burns won it.
So for everybody saying right now, where's CC? Is it just because it's the half a year?
It is. I mean, if there's another way to quantify that, but it was fantastic 3 or 4 months. Like, there's a reason he got MVP votes for only pitching for the Brewers from the beginning of July into October. But yeah, I mean, that's just like, as much as I want to acknowledge that, that's just tough in this.
Yeah.
And I just went 3 honorable mentions for starters, and this was pretty easy too. First one, maybe one of the more underrated starters of this 21st century, Doug Davis.
Doug Davis.
Kind of he was usually that second pitcher behind Ben Sheets, but 38 and 40, 4.11 ERA doesn't really stand out. But I mean, again, that was a much more hitter-friendly era. In 724 innings, had some good years mixed in there. Second one, personal favorite of mine, Chris Capuano.
I was wondering if you were going to say him.
Another part of the Richie Sexton trade, but 45 and 49, 4.33 ERA, almost won 20 games one year. I mean, just the textbook crafty lefty. And then the last one, and this is kind of a bit of the what if of this group, Jimmy Nelson.
Oh, wow.
I mean, his 2017 is really good until he had the shoulder injury, and it was kind of he had to kind of become the ace at the big league level. But, the record isn't super great. I mean, I don't judge pitchers generally on record too much because a lot of that is out of their control. I mean, he had a 4.12 ERA, and, that's, it's not his fault that maybe he didn't get the run support at times there. But, he was someone that, ate a lot of innings.
All right.
And then reliever, we'll finish it up here pretty quick. I just went 3 relievers because to me there were 3 kind of head and shoulders above the rest. I don't think any of these are going to be too much surprise. Number 1, Josh Hader.
Yeah.
I mean, 3-time Trevor Hoffman Award winner for the best reliever in the National League. He was actually 7th in the Cy Young in 2018. That was before he really became the closer. 4-time All-Star with the Brewers. 541 strikeouts in 316 innings. That's crazy numbers. 2.48 ERA. Second one, Devin Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, 2-time All-Star, 2-time Hoffman Award winner. The Brewers have kind of had that award on lockdown a little bit since it became a thing. Was the Rookie of the Year in 2020. Similar story, 219 earned run average, 421 strikeouts in 271 innings. And then the last one, Jeremy Jeffress.
Oh, yeah.
Who pitched nearly as many innings as Hader did, which is kind of interesting because he had just a couple different tenures. And his numbers are always really weird because, like, Jeremy Jeffress pitched well with the Brewers and seemingly only with the Brewers. Like, every time he went somewhere else, it just didn't work.
Yep.
There was just a level of comfort there, but 266 career earned run average, 300 innings, 300 strikeouts essentially. Made an All-Star game, I think it was 2018. But, like, I mean, that's, yeah. And then, honorable mentions, we'll wrap this up. I went 4 of them because there were still some guys that warranted it. But, I wasn't going to get too deep with this. Corey Knebel.
Okay.
Was an All-Star, was a big part of that 2018 bullpen, more than 300 innings. John Axford. I mean,
just for the mustache alone.
But his numbers were very good. I mean, he had more strikeouts than innings pitched. Obviously, was the closer of that 2011 team. Trevor McGill. I gave him the bump because even though he just became the closer this year, but still he's been, for 3 years now, has been a very important piece of that. And then the last one, a guy that I don't think people, his time at the Brewers wasn't super long, but his numbers were very, very good. It was Francisco Cordero. Only pitched 9 innings with the Brewers, but was an All-Star, 2.60 ERA, like more strikeouts than innings pitched, like just an important part at a time when the Brewers were kind of playing leapfrog with their closer a little bit.
I like that list. Well done, man. Well done. All right. I'll tell you what, we'll take a really quick break and then we'll get into the Packer one. So that's a deep dive right there.
I tried my best to not go too deep because I didn't want to take up the whole hour, but
Well, you did.
I know.
Just kidding. So good stuff there, B. We gotta take a really quick break and we'll be back to do the Packer quarter century team. Coming up after these quick words. Last call to get in your cream of the crops or bottom of the barrels. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. We'll hit that up along with the AJM Automotive Pump the Brakes Full Throttle. Brandon just went through his picks for the quarter century team for the Brewers. Good stuff from B. Now, it was my task to do the Packers side of things. So I know you're not a Packers fan, but I know you can.
I'm interested.
Yeah, you see this here. I did find a trend with some of these picks, I will say, that then you kind of like, during a certain era in the last 25 years, it really was like, how the heck did they not win more with some of these picks that are made in my quarter century team? I think you'll understand more after go through it. But quarterback, it's easy. It's Rodgers. No offense to Favre.
Yeah, a lot of the Favre stuff's in the 90s.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's where his MVPs are.
Right, definitely. So, and then Packers won a Super Bowl in 2010 with Rodgers as quarterback. So the quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. There should be no debate about that pick. I went with 2 running backs. I thought about going 1 running back, 3 wide receivers, but I went with 2. I kind of went a little bit more of the generic. I did not put a fullback in here. I'm
William
sorry.
Henderson erasure.
If I want to go old school I formation, yes, William Henderson would be on here. But I went with 2 running backs. When you talk about like the early 2000s, there's like one player that kind of stands out as Amon Green. I had to find, this was part of it. You got to put Amon Green on this list.
He ran for like 1,900 yards one year.
Yeah. It was at like 2003
3 or 4, something like
yeah.
that.
I mean, I still have the image of him with that 98-yard run against Denver in the final game of the year. I was actually bow hunting that night as a kid. I came in, walked in the house right when that play started. So, I mean, you talk about yards and running back. Amon Green's kind of tenure with Green Bay, I think, kind of gets forgotten just how good he was there. And that was really one of the few bright spots in the early 2000s. Other than, hey, we're going to start off slow and then win like 4 or 5 in a row in the Mike Sherman era just to get to the postseason. So the other running back I went with was Aaron Jones. Still doing it with your team over there too. But, I mean, you talk about a guy that was pretty darn consistent, and you talk about not the biggest dude running the football too. And both these guys, I think, do a really good job at catching the ball out of the backfield too. So involved in that passing game. So those were the 2 running backs I went with. If you want to go like honorable mentions with that, I mean, you could throw a little Ryan Grant in there for the fine that they had when Ted Thompson traded for him in 2007. You could throw a little James Starks in there. I mean, they don't make that run in the postseason without James Starks in 2010. So, you could definitely throw, those 2 names into the mixture for some honorable mentions. So, you look confused.
No, I was just thinking something else.
Okay. Wide receivers. I mean, there's been a lot of them. There's been a lot of good ones from 2000 to 2025. So it was kind of tricky, but not really tricky to narrow it down to 2, if that kind of makes sense. One, you got to go with the all-time leading receiver, and that's Donald Driver. I mean, that's, from 2000 to 20, and played for both Favre and Rodgers, started his career as a rookie in 99. So, I mean, you got to put him on here just because he's got over 10,000 receiving yards during kind of, the big chunk of this era. So he's on there. Then you can go with, do you go Jordy? Do you go Greg Jennings, Juwan Walker? If we want to go, on, I mean, there's a boatload of receivers we could go to. I went with who I think it was probably maybe the most talented of the group, Devontae. I went with Devontae over Jordy, over Greg, over those other guys, just because when I think about like just from a pure talent standpoint, Devontae to me is the better receiver.
And the numbers were there to match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's, if I were to expand it to 3 wide receivers, honestly, it probably would be Jordy that I would put on that list. But I went with just the 2, Driver and Devontae. Tight end. So like Bill Huber did this. He covers the Packers for Sports Illustrated. He put Tucker Kraft already for the tight end.
Wow.
Yeah. I disagree with that. So to me, there was really just a couple of options. I could really go and say Donald Lee
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm not going to go Donald Lee. Could go Andrew Corliss. I'm not.
Go Spencer Hayden get that combination offense defense.
Could. You either have all I do is catch touchdowns, Bubba Franks, or Jermichael Finley, whose career was cut short because of injury. I went with Finley just because from a pure talent standpoint, he is more talented than Bubba Frank. No offense, but Bubba Franks he made some Pro Bowls because he caught touchdowns. But if you line those two guys up and I get them healthy, peak, prime, I'm going to go with Finley. I'm going to go Jermichael Finley. So to me, those were like the only two realistic options from the last 25 years. No offense to Tucker. He could potentially.
Right. If you're doing who knows? If you do one like a 30-year one in 5 years, he might be the guy.
Yep. Exactly. So the offensive line I didn't realize it till after I picked them all, is the 2014 starting offensive line. Bakhtiari at left tackle. I mean, you talk about a guy who's got some All-Pros and such. I mean, I think he still has more All-Pros than Pro Bowl selections, if that tells you anything. Yeah. Josh sitting at left guard. I mean, just you talk about the model of consistency over there. Center, I could have went with Scott Wells, but I went with Corey Linsley at the center spot. Again, incredibly solid center during his time with Green Bay. Right guard, I could have went a little bit earlier and gone like Marco Rivera. I went with TJ Lang, though. TJ Lang, a little more into 2000s and such. So I went with him at 14. And this is the one, too, that kind of surprised me with and not to criticize Bill's pick, he had Zach Tom at right tackle, which, okay, last few years has been great. Tauscher was an honorable mention. How about Brian Balaga at right tackle? Iowa. So I went with Brian Balaga at right tackle. We can't forget about Brian Balaga and the job that he did at right tackle. I mean, so, yeah, when I wrote out, I was like, that's the 14 starting offensive line. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying, like, dang, how did they not win a lot more with some of these guys? So Brian Balaga is my right tackle. Defensively, now this one, I essentially went 4-3. Could go 3-4, 4-3. And then for the defensive ends, I just called them edges.
Yeah.
Edge rushers. It's Clay Matthews. You got to throw Clay Matthews as a part of the edge. Aaron Campman is my other edge rusher. Could have went with Baja Biamila for the sacks.
KGB,
yeah, for all that. But, I mean, Aaron Campman was
solid for a long time.
Yeah, and I think when they switched to a 3-4, that's kind of when he didn't fit a 3-4 stand-up outside linebacker. So, defensive tackles were really interesting for me. And tell you what, I'm running out of time.
I was going to say, you want to just take it? Yeah, we'll just cut it. We'll do defense second hour. I went long. My bad.
Blame Brandon. So
I usually do anyway.
Yeah. So okay, I'll reset the defense again coming up in the second hour.
We need more time to talk Aaron Campman.
Yes, exactly. So, but I will say the defensive tackle's tricky because if you think about it, from 2000 to 2025, there's some good names. So we'll see how it goes, and gives me a couple minutes maybe to switch one of my safety picks.
Ooh, teaser.
Because I do have a slash next to it, like
Cordell Stewart.
Yeah, like Cordell Stewart. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut me off here in like 15, 20 seconds or so. So, again, last call, cream of the crop, bottom of the barrel. Text those on over. We'll do our AJM Automotive, pump the brakes, full throttle as well. So, but I'll do my defensive picks for the last quarter of a century for Green Bay coming up. And, you'll appreciate it. I do have a long snapper. I did go with that route too. So,
appreciate that.
Yep. Punter was a little hard too. Kicker's the easiest one probably on this whole list.
Yeah.
So, all right, 2 hours in. We're flying on through this morning. News updates. We'll be back after these quick words. just cruising on through on this Friday morning. We appreciate you making us part of your starts. If you're already, you should be already up and at. It's after 8 o'clock. Come on now. Some of us have been up for almost 6 hours this morning. Get going, people. Not Brandon, probably though.
No.
I'm already thinking about what's for lunch and dinner tonight.
Well, I'm always
right
thinking
now.
that, so I'll join you there.
We're going to get to cream of the crop, bottom of the barrel coming up in just a little bit. We also have the AJM Automotive Pump the Brakes Full Throttle. So we'll hit that up. We'll talk some more Brewers as we get set for their series against the Dodgers. Baseball season's second half officially begins today. All-Star break is in the books. So we'll talk a little bit about this matchup coming up here too. So we're going to continue. So Brandon, in the last hour, he did his quarter century Brewers team from the last 25 years. I did the Packers. So did the offense just right towards the top of the hour. Let's do the defense now. So I went 4-3 defense. I went with a 4-3 defense. You got to go Clay Matthews for an edge. I called him edge. You know, that's kind of what they're called now these days.
Designated pass rusher.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yep. So edge rusher. I went with Clay Matthews. You got to put Clay Matthews on there. And then I went with Aaron Campman. Just, thought about Baja Biamila. I mean, he was a sack machine of course, but I just Aaron Campman to me was the guy. Better as a 4-3 defensive end than he was as a 3-4 when they switched over to that. He had to do some stand-up rushing from a stand-up 2-point position. He's better as a 4-3. His career, I know he went to Jacksonville afterwards, but after that ACL injury, just never really kind of got back to that high level of play.
And also Shallow having a number in the 70s for a lot deep for like a
74.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that's
74.
That'll work for me.
Yep. So defensive tackles now, there was a lot of options when you kind of think about it. If you really want to kind of think about some of the options here, Ryan Pickett, if you want to go, like that, you can go Cullen Jenkins, right? I mean, two, I would say, pivotal players on the Super Bowl 45 team. BJ Raji, if you want to go that route. I went with, and this one, I'm sure some fans might roll their eyes because of a recency thing, but I went with Kenny Clark, defensive tackle. For the most part of his season, he has been pretty darn solid. He has been a very solid player. I know last year, down year, I think this is a big year for him. He did have the toe injury last year that maybe affected his play. But, I mean, you talk about a guy that has been here for a long time now for Green Bay, been a very solid defensive tackle in the interior. I went with Kenny Clark, and then I went with Mike Daniels, another Iowa defensive lineman. Mike Daniels, you talk about a dude who could rush the passer, was a little undersized, but that wrestling background, you could tell, really helped him out with, the bend and such. And you talk about the energy and the motor from that guy. Another defensive lineman that wore 70, 79. So I went with Mike Daniels on there. So that's kind of my front is Clay, Aaron Campman, Kenny Clark, and Mike Daniels.
Good luck defense or offensive line on a passing down.
Yeah, that's kind of where it was at, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I will say the guy that I really thought about putting in there was Ryan Pickett because of stopping the run. And this was a guy that played 4-3 and 3-4 style of defenses. If I had to pick my next one, it probably would be Ryan Pickett. A very under the radar, undervalued signing by Ted Thompson when they brought him aboard from the Rams. So another defensive lineman at wore 79. He was 79. Mike Daniels was 76. My bad.
Yeah, there you go.
Ryan Pickett was 79. Mike Daniels was 76. So linebackers. So I look at this one. I did not have Hardy Nickerson, in case you were the great, and I did not have obviously Joe Johnson on the defensive line.
I was actually wondering.
Agency, free agent spending. You kind of look at this group and maybe not a whole lot. I think you got to put AJ Hawk on there. right? I mean, you got to put AJ Hawk on there. I know he was, and I think the question that everybody, or the scenario that everybody kind of throws out there, is like, okay, if he wasn't a top 5 pick, does he have a good season then after that? Sure.
Yeah. Do people view him differently if he is the 20th pick, or was he the 6th, or the 5th? 5th, okay, 5th, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, you got to throw. He did have a couple really good years. I mean, that 2010 year again, right? I mean, he got himself a new contract because that he was very good that year. So I went with AJ Hawk. My other linebacker I went with 03 to 2010. He got some AP votes actually too. Defensive Rookie of the Year votes. His rookie year. His career essentially ended because of injury, few games in 2010. Went to a couple of years in Buffalo and such. But I mean, he was kind of the main linebacker for those early 2000 teams for Green Bay. So I went with Nick Barnett on there. And then the other linebacker, because I have 3 of them, this one kind of gets a little interesting. Where do you go? He didn't have a long career, but what he did in 2010, the level of play that he had, he spent 4 or 5 years in Green Bay. I went with Desmond Bishop, a long-time special teams guy for Mark. But then when Nick Barnett got hurt in 2010, Desmond Bishop got a chance, and the dude was awesome. I mean, he was awesome after that, and really took advantage of it. I still remember the interception in 2010 in Favre's final game at Lambeau. I think, it threw it right to Desmond Bishop, in the second half there. So I think he was under pressure. That. So Desmond Bishop, to me, I thought was a very good player for Green Bay, and his career essentially got cut short because he had that hamstring injury. I think the hamstring tore off his bone, and he missed the whole, I think, 2012 season because it happened in preseason.
And he just wasn't the same after that.
Yeah, I mean, he spent a little bit with Minnesota and San Francisco.
It was unfortunately for him, it was kind of done after that.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I went Desmond Bishop over the likes of guys like Blake Martinez and, those guys. So, just because I thought Desmond Bishop actually was a difference maker during Green Bay. So, the corners, there's been some good ones. I mean, you can go Al Harris, which was a really good corner. You could go Sam Shields, who was a really good corner. I guess we could say Jair. He was a really good corner too. And this is one too where I could have, maybe taken away a linebacker and went with 3 corners because of the nickel. But I just kept it generic with 2 corners with this. Charles Woodson, and Tramon Williams. Those are my 2 top corners. If I had to add a third, that's where it gets interesting. Do I go Sam Shields and then really go with the 2010 team? Because those would be your 3 corners. Al Harris or Jair Alexander. Which one would I go there? That'd be a tough one.
That would.
I might go Al Harris and then slide Charles into the slot. To a slot corner. Just because Al Harris, I think, is kind of a little underrated for what he did in Green Bay. I probably would go Al Harris, to be honest with you. But Jair's really good, though, too. He did. I don't know. My top 2, though, are Tramon and Charles Woodson. I think Charles Woodson, outside of Aaron Rodgers, was probably the best Packer in the last 25 years, if we were to rank them that way. And then Tramon Williams, I mean, just 2 tenures with Green Bay. Actually, 3, if you count that. Last one, I think it was 2020. It was that weird rule. They brought him back in the postseason. Like, they signed him the week of the Tampa Bay game, I think it was. But they didn't activate him to the roster. So, I got those 2 for my corners. Safeties, and again, another guy whose career ended short because of injury, Nick Collins. I think, you hear everybody say he was on the path to becoming a potential future Hall of Famer. Obviously, his pick 6 in the Super Bowl, but Nick Collins was a stud when he played there. My other safety, this is the one I kept going back and forth on. And I think I'm gonna go I'm going to kind of follow your path on this one and go with a guy that spent a little bit more time in Green Bay. I'll go Morgan Burnett for my other safety. I'll tell you the other guy I had on here was Xavier McKinney, just because he was dang good.
Yeah, last year was 1 year, but it was a great first year.
It was a fantastic year. So I literally have both Xavier McKinney and Morgan Burnett here. Xavier McKinney, I think the year that he had was fantastic. Morgan Burnett is on here because of the longevity that he had in Green Bay. So I'm still going back and forth on this one. Could go Charlie Pepper and just call it good and, give it a day.
I was a little disappointed there was no Lindsey Pipkins in there.
He was a corner.
I mean, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Or Ladarius Gunter.
36. There's a 36.
The number one corner on that 2016 team.
It was. No Ahmad Carroll either, or Demarius Randall, or Quentin Rollins, Kicker is the easiest thing in the world. It's Mason Crosby. Pretty much the only kicker in the last 25 years for Green Bay.
Obviously, you had Longwell earlier in the 2000s, but yeah, I mean, Crosby covers such a long period of time, did it so well.
Yep. So the punter one's interesting. Wasn't really the greatest ones out there. You have John Ryan, then went to Seattle.
I was going to say, does he get points off just because he went to Seattle and threw a pass?
I kind of went a little longevity, and I was actually looking up punting stats the other day, and like inside the 20s, the nets and all that. Tim Mastay I went with at punter. There wasn't a whole lot of options. I can't give it to Daniel Whalen yet.
No.
I can't. But I went with Tim Mastay at the punting position. A lot of it was just based off longevity and such.
If you're a punter for a while, usually there's something to that.
Long snapper was between two. Good old Rob Davis or Brett Good. I went with Brett Good on mine for long snapper. So, yes, I did do long snapper on my list as well. Now, it'd be fairly easy. Like if we did coaches or managers, yours would be Craig Counsell, I would imagine, for the last 25 years.
Yeah, I think so.
I think mine would have to be Mike McCarthy, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'd have to be Mike McCarthy. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Quarter century lists for both Brandon. Brandon did the Brewers. I did the Packers. So, all right, let's reset, and we'll do cream of the crop, bottom of the barrel, and then AJM Automotive, pump the brakes, full throttle. Quick break. We'll be back after these quick words. All right, let's do a little cream of the crop, bottom of the barrel. Brandon, I'll give you the honors. Who is your cream of the crop? I wonder if we're going to have the same, to be honest.
Who am I? I'm just in for a couple of different reasons. I'm just going to go with the All-Star game.
That's what mine was.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the actual team jerseys, that's good. Obviously, you talked about it earlier this week, but the swing off was a success. That doesn't mean we need to see it at any other point, but for the All-Star game,
you don't want to see it?
I don't need to see it in the regular season. I don't need to see it in the postseason.
Why is that?
Because those are still games that matter.
Okay. But we have it in hockey.
But you go through an overtime period,
But what if we get to a certain 13th inning?
Maybe because that happens so rarely. But yeah, I would still want a high bar, okay, we've gone through 3 or 4 extra innings and it hasn't happened kind of thing. But in general, I don't need to see it for that. But we could use it in 2002. And then, obviously just some of the stuff. I mean, the Hank Aaron tribute was fantastic. Just in general, baseball generally does it right for the All-Star game. And I thought this was a good one.
Yeah. No, I think this was a big win for Major League Baseball this week. I mean, I don't think I've heard of anything negative. The only thing negative is the conspiracy theory about, the participants of the swing off. Why wouldn't you have Aaron Judge or Ohtani? And did they leave the game early?
Sound like they did.
So that would be the only thing.
That would be fun. Kyle Schwarber is someone you would probably want to have in there anyway, because he just seems like he's built for a derby like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you could have had Aaron Judge and Shohei, there's other guys you could have had.
Especially if the rule is you're supposed to submit it a day or a couple days beforehand. Why wouldn't you have those guys on that list? But no, I think overall it was a good week for Major League Baseball.
Yep.
And Atlanta, yeah, I loved that Hank Aaron tribute. That was so awesome. I was even saying it'd be cool if they could do a version of that for the Ice Bowl and the sneak on the doing it on Lambeau Field. That'd be so cool. So no, yeah, we got the same cream of the crops. It's Major League Baseball this week. So all right, bottom of the barrel.
Well, mine also has to do with Major League Baseball. Bottom of the barrel. I don't have anything against the guy, but the Ken Rosenthal, Jacob Mizorowski interview.
Yeah. Good point. I saw, was it Eric Hosmer going after Ken Rosenthal?
He did, but just did
So for anybody who doesn't know,
essentially, after he pitched his inning, Ken Rosenthal interviewed Jacob Mizorowski in the dugout. And basically the tone of the interview was, so do your teammates hate you because you're here? Look, I understand that was a storyline, but and this, I mean, this has been already talked about, so we don't need to go too in depth on it. But the thing I don't think that gets talked about enough with this whole, Mizorowski deserved being the All-Star. And look, based on numbers, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
But the thing that is kind of under discussed is the fact that there was how many people turned it down? There's reported around a dozen. I'd seen some people reporting players that either they turned it down or they couldn't because they pitched Sunday. So it's not like Major League Baseball just leapfrogged Mizorowski in front of all these people and said, hey, we're going to have you, we want you to do this ahead of some of these, probably more deserving people. Those other people couldn't do it or they didn't want to. They prioritized rest and hey, that's their prerogative. But my thing with it too was, if you're going to say that, hey, it's a privilege to be picked for this, and it is, then at the same time, if you got teammates that are turning it down, you should be saying, hey, you know what? Maybe you should have did that then.
Yeah.
You can't talk out of both ends of your mouth. You can't say it's a privilege, but then not say anything if somebody chooses not to do it. But yeah, just in general, the tone of the interview, if you want to ask that, sure. But is that really just the first thing you're going to flat out ask is hey, so how maybe you shouldn't be here. How do your teammates feel about that? No, ask a softball question and then ask that. I don't know. It was just awkward.
Yep.
And you could just if you just look at Mizorowski's face, you could just tell. He's just I don't really want to talk about this. And I'm sure, honestly, at some point, if the other All-Stars were asked about it, they were probably tired of talking about it too.
Yeah.
They gave their opinion. Great. And I think even Kyle Schwarber, because obviously he gave his opinion because there was a couple of very worthy pitchers from the Phillies.
Yeah.
But I think he even said he went up and talked to Mizorowski. He said, no, this isn't about like you specifically. It's just kind of, and he kind of, and I appreciate that he did that. They gave their opinion about, but he didn't say like, no, this isn't like personally attacking you. This is just kind of the situation that you just happen to be a part of.
I think, part of it too is like, as you mentioned, reportedly they'd asked 12 at some point, but we've kind of been maybe so much. You're going to ask somebody that's probably going to say yes then at that point.
Yeah, like you kind of mentioned, like if we're going back to like when we played slow pitch softball, like you have your list of people you're probably thinking, oh, I'd like, okay, but eventually like, okay, we just need body.
Yeah.
Like we need innings.
Right.
We need people that are going to be available.
Yeah. And this one also happened to draw some attention, because he's a big name and people want to see it. If anything, criticize Major League Baseball for if they didn't ask Suarez from the Phillies or one of those guys.
I'm going to assume they did.
I would assume too. So
I mean, him and like Christopher.
And if that's the case, if that's the case, those guys should speak up and say, yeah, we turned it down. Right. Instead of Trey Turner saying this is a joke, then you could just shut everybody up and say, no, we turned it down.
Right. And maybe that's something that'll come out at some point, but after the fact, it's kind of pointless for it to come out,
right?
Because everything has kind of been dictated or kind of been talked about in the court of public opinion.
Yep. And I took it as a Brewers fan for as much as we kind of complain that we don't get as much national attention. Take it as a win,
right?
Right.
And if you're Mizorowski, like, how are you not going to take that opportunity?
Right.
Like, you don't know what could happen the rest of the career. Maybe he makes, a bunch more All-Star games and then this is just kind of a fun footnote.
Yep.
Maybe he doesn't.
Yep. No, I was just saying the other day too, can you imagine the last 5-6 weeks for this kid to start off, going back here in AAA?
And that's the thing. Like if I was Ken Rosenthal, like that would have been my start. Like, hey, 7 weeks ago, you were in AAA.
Yeah.
How crazy is to think that right now you're, here pitching, throwing a scoreless inning in the All-Star game. Like, what's this last 2 months been like for you?
Yeah.
And then you can kind of say, okay, well then, like there's, and look, Ken Rosenthal has obviously accomplished infinitely more than I ever will. But like, I'm just saying, like, there's always a better way to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it just felt very heavy-handed.
Yeah. And excuse me, but you think about the AAA and then you make your debut and then you get pumped up or, the media pumps you up for your Paul Skeens matchup. And then you have a hat sent to the Hall of Fame because you have 11 in a row, hitless innings. And then, you get lit up, but you bounce back and you have an awesome game against the Dodgers. And then you're in the All-Star game.
Yeah, a national TV game.
Yeah.
Against Clayton Kershaw.
I mean, that is such a whirlwind 7 weeks for a 23-year-old. Like, it's just, he almost needs a minute to catch his breath.
Right.
With this whole thing. It's pretty impressive. I'll say that it seems like he's handling all this pretty well too. So yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. My bottom of the barrel. What the heck is going on with this whole NFL PA and NFL thing?
Gosh,
I mean, now the PA's executive director has resigned. In a statement, he said, it's clear that my leadership has become a distraction to the important work the NFL PA advances every day. For this reason, I informed the executive committee that I am stepping down. But there's just been, I don't want to be here for a while to explain it.
Because we could be here a while talking about the different things.
But essentially what it is that there's a lot of, it seems like cover-up stuff going on. Right? I mean, there was an FBI investigating the financial dealings of the NFLPA and the Major League Baseball Players Association related to multi-billion-dollar group licensing firms. They also said that for this, I mentioned with Dr. Crow, the whole injury stuff kind of going on. And this one too, ESPN reported last week that Howell, confidentiality agreement with the NFL 6 months ago that hid from players the details of a January arbitration decision, including finding that the league executives urged team owners to reduce guaranteed player compensation. So, I mean, there's just seems to be a lot of cover-up stuff.
There does. And like, because the first person that really kind of popped the lid on this was Pablo Torre.
Yeah.
And he kind of had it, and like, it didn't necessarily take off. And I think one of the reasons it didn't necessarily take off is that, like, when he kind of brought some of the stuff out, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, it was very believable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't like it was a bombshell where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the thing that always kind of sticks out to me, and there's many things over the years you can point to, but to me, the one thing that I'm going to point to be like, yeah, when Lamar Jackson was a free agent and the Atlanta Falcons were like, no, we're good. We got Desmond Ridder. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like that. And like, nobody's making, heck, I was thinking like Vikings make an offer. It's Lamar Jackson. Hey, it's going to be, it's going to be a bunch of money, but this is an MVP top 3, top 4 quarterback in the league. Like, yeah, you're going to have to pay him a lot of money. It's going to make you have to kind of move some things around, but you do it for somebody like that. And the fact that so many teams are like, no, we're good. We got Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
Really? Like that strikes me as, okay, these owners are like, and that's why that's kind of connected. Like, I think with like Brian Flores, he should get another opportunity, but these owners, I could see being very, I would say vindictive, but like just when you kind of go against them, and remember the big thing with him was, well, one of the things was he's the owner of the Dolphins wanted him to basically tank games on purpose. He's like, I'm not going to do that.
Right. Yeah. Cause it was tank for Tua.
Yes.
And they still ended up getting Tua with the 5th overall pick.
And then obviously him and Tua didn't work out. Look, and obviously Brian Flores bears responsibility for why that relationship didn't work out. But the mechanics of how they got him, he did not want to go along with. Look, he's like, hey, I'm the coach here. I'm not going to just lose these games on purpose. And they were going to pay him extra bonuses to lose games. Like, like there is a lot of, and I'm sure it happens in a lot of places, but you can just see these very vivid examples with NFL owners.
Yep. I mean, and I think we're all kind of kidding ourselves too if we don't think that they don't talk.
Right.
I mean, for crying out loud, the biggest joke of all is the legal tampering period crap and free agency.
Again, like,
I mean, come on.
Like when you got like 5 or 10 seconds into it, and Adam Schefter, this, I think it was it Devontae Swift, like, or DeAndre Swift, like last year.
Yep.
Where it was just like 5 seconds in, like, he's got to deal with the Bears. Like, wow, that came together quick. I'm sure there was no talking.
No talking. Yeah, it's a joke. It just makes it worse that they try to play it off like where they follow the rules all the time.
Right.
So, all right, that's your cream of the crop, bottom of the barrel for this morning. All right, you ready to do a little pump the brakes, full throttle?
Yes.
Brought to you by our good friends from AJM Automotive. Also, AJM Automotive trying to help me out with my lawnmower situation. You know what I'm talking about. So, hopefully. So, pump the brakes, full throttle. We'll keep it to a Brewers kind of theme here a little bit since we haven't gotten to, well, we did in the first hour, but you weren't here. But pump the brakes, full throttle. The Brewers should push Mizorowski, keep him on an everyday 5-day rest sort of thing. Or do you think they should go with that whole, like, maybe skip a turn in a rotation every once in a while? The whole innings thing, I'm worried about this.
Yeah. And it's something that at some point, like, it's gonna pop up and people are gonna be upset about it.
Do you think because of the race that they're in right now, pump the brakes, full throttle, just go with it, ride that horse every 5 days?
It might be unpopular. I'm gonna say pump the brakes. I'm gonna say you still gotta be smart about it. And I think part of the reason you can be is because of the rest of your rotation. Like, I get it. Mizorowski can, he's got the best stuff of anybody there.
Yeah.
But like, I still think you got to be smart about it. If there's a time where you can, the off days fall right and you can skip a turn or something, it's not going to be popular with a lot of people, but I think you have to still think about that.
Do you think that's kind of what's going on with this series with the Dodgers?
I think so. I mean, just this morning I was kind of looking at, like, kind of trying to figure out, like, because even I looked ahead, because to me, I was almost thinking, like, are they planning it from, like, who do you want for that Cubs series, like a week and a half from now, and you kind of work backwards? Because Mizorowski's he's not pitching against the Dodgers. He'll pitch against the Mariners. But like, it kind of seemed like that was maybe the plan.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I mean, that could all change with one injury or such too. So
remember, Nestor Cortez could be a week or two back from being back. What do you do? I think the move is you probably bump Quinn Priester out of there. I mean, I think out of the 5, he's got the most experience, kind of. I think you still keep him on the major league roster, but you just
hold on to that option,
right? And you just kind of use him as more of a multi-inning guy. Like, I think he can do that. He's got. I think the experience of him and DL Hall kind of tandeming it up kind of shows me he can be that guy that you can do that with.
Yeah. Pump the brakes, full throttle with Sal Frelick's injury, and we don't know how long he'll be out. Hamstring's always kind of a little tricky here, but pump the brakes, full throttle. When you look at the outfield depth, and then now you add in Sal Frelick's injury, outfield is the biggest need instead of a left side infielder.
I'm going to pump the brakes, but it's still something even if Frelick comes back, I could see them doing at the deadline, even if it's more of a minor thing. Like to get another outfielder, maybe a guy that can defend, but also like honestly, if you find yourself an outfielder that can play left field that can hit right-handed pitching, I think that pairs really well with Isaac Collins because Isaac Collins has played every day. He's more than exceeded expectations. If we had to pick a surprise player, he'd be my surprise player. But his numbers are much better against left-handed pitching. Like there's a platoon possibility, or at least a guy you can mix in there a couple times a week. Who that is, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out here in a week. But to me, I still think that you make a move because it seems like that's still a spot you can get something at. Like I don't need to see Jake Bauers play outfield. I don't need to see Andrew Vaughn did when he was over, but he's slow. He's very slow. Like you need somebody else for that fourth outfielder.
Pump the brakes, full throttle. You're open to Tobias Myers being on the traded block if you can get an impact bat.
Yeah. Full throttle. Full throttle. Obviously, CBS Sports had the piece where they were kind of giving like predictions for the second half. And they said the prediction was Eugenio Suarez to the Brewers with the centerpiece of that deal being Tobias Myers. I would be 100% in favor of that.
Why is that?
I just believe in the pitching depth that they have. And I think Eugenio Suarez can be an absolute difference maker for this offense. A legit power bat at third. Now you have to figure out how you move things around. Do you move Bryce Trang to short and Caleb Durban to second? I'm not super big on moving guys like that in the middle of the year, but for someone like that, I think you have that conversation, you discuss it.
With their younger pitchers and such, not taking Mizorowski out of this because he's on a different level here.
Yeah,
but Logan Henderson, Robert Gasser, Tobias Myers, of those three.
Tobias, I would say, would be the one I would be most likely to now.
So which one? So he'd be like third on your list in priority of who you'd want to keep?
Correct.
Okay.
But then you also factor in, you got Chad Patrick.
Yep. Quinn Priester, maybe.
Maybe. But a guy that just got to AAA, Coleman Crow, is a younger guy that, he's still only a few starts in the AAA, so he's probably lowest maybe priority for other teams. But yes, I think it's, even with, we'll see what happens this offseason. And, more of those guys could be in the big leagues in the rotation next year. Like, I think that's a swing you can make dealing from depth. It's not like you're giving up. This isn't 15 years ago when the team absolutely could not develop starting pitching. You deal from your depth to give your team a better shot at it. And look, Eugenio Suarez is a rental. He's a free agent after this year. He's probably not coming back. Like barring a Mike Moustakas situation where he absolutely just loves Milwaukee and the free agency, bears out a certain way. Like he's a hired gun. But I'm fine with Eugenio Suarez being a hired gun for the rest of 2025.
Would you be disappointed if they don't make a move involving one of their many pitchers, because it's kind of log jammed when you do factor in Nestor Cortez is coming here and such?
I know disappointed is the right word, but
how do you figure that out then? Like, how do you do that?
Because you mentioned those names, even if, because next year could be different. You could have say you trade Freddie Peralta, say Brandon Woodruff has a good, close the year, his free agency, and someone gives him a bunch of money. You still have more names than you have spots.
Right.
And maybe that's more of an off-season thing then but I just think that kind of the stars are aligning a little bit for them to take maybe a bit of a bigger swing than they have in the past.
I'm gonna phrase this probably incorrectly, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say here. Pump the brakes, full throttle. Damian Lillard re-signing with Portland makes the release make a little bit more sense. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I understand what you're going for, and I will go full throttle. Like when I saw that, I was excited.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want like a Drew Holiday situation where he ends up somewhere where he can, in a year or two burn the Bucks. Like the fact that he did that shows me, okay, he just wants to be back home.
Yep.
And that, that's totally fine. And not even if he would have signed with the Heat or something, I couldn't have been. I wasn't going to really be mad. It wasn't his fault he got hurt.
Right.
He did the best he could given the situation. It just didn't work. But when I saw, I would say that's good for. Is it good for Milwaukee? I think so.
Yeah, because I got the impression, not to knock Portland, but they're not going to win anytime soon.
Right. They're kind of in the middle of a bit of a rebuild.
Right. Because it's a weird roster when you factor in Dame and Drew Holiday and Scoot Henry, those. And I know Dame's not going to be playing anytime soon. But it's just okay, that's a guy that just wanted to go back home.
Right.
And to me, it solidified the thought that he just wasn't comfortable in Milwaukee.
Right. And more so just because of distance. His family was still all in Portland and stuff like that. It wasn't he was I didn't get the feeling he was uncomfortable in Milwaukee because of anything Milwaukee did.
Right.
It's just because the rest of his family, he was born and raised and everything, like, or not necessarily born and raised, but like he was raised essentially like, halfway across the country.
And I think he was going through a divorce. So, I mean,
yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on where, it was just a tough situation. I think he made the best of it he could there, but it was a tough situation. Then you factor in the injury. It was just like, there's just a lot of signs here to say, okay, like maybe this was the move to make.
Right. And I think it was an example where, if you go back a couple of years ago, he wanted out to go get a championship from everything that's why we kept hearing the Miami runs. Right. But maybe he realized, okay, it's not worth it. I want to be closer back to
just
Portland.
priorities change.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there in life where, we prioritize one thing or another. And then a few years later, maybe that changes.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm glad, it made sense in my head.
I understood what you were saying.
Right. Like, because I honestly, when I saw that too, and I'm like, okay, I don't know why I felt you felt like better. Like I was worried like he was going to go to Orlando. I'm trying to think of some Eastern Conference teams that would, he could burn them in the playoffs when he comes back or something.
Let's put it this way. If he burns them in the playoffs, I'd be okay with that because that means obviously there would be a final.
Right.
And I just don't see that happening for, those teams meeting up at the finals, but it'd be fun.
I wonder too, okay, now this just popped in my head. Really projecting here. Giannis, look what just happened. Dame wanted to go back to Portland. You're fine staying in Milwaukee now. You know what I mean? Like you're fine. You're fine, dude.
Like it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to
stay home.
Yep.
Stay home, dude. So I thought I had one more pump the brakes or full throttle, but maybe I didn't. Let me bring up my list here. So nope, that was it. That was it for our pump the brakes, full throttle, which right now we gotta take a quick break because we gotta do our picks because we actually have baseball picks to make here. Woo! So, all right, we'll be back after these few words. Before we get to our picks, so a listener had brought this up a couple days ago, but then I did see somebody from Green Bay mention this in a video. A tip of the cap to everybody who went to the draft in Green Bay. So revenue-wise, yes.
Yeah.
But did you hear the beer fact?
No, I did not hear the beer.
So somebody had texted this, and I don't know, I can't remember who you are. Apologize. But then I didn't know if this was real or not. But then I saw the video. It was like somebody with the city of Green Bay or the draft or somebody was talking about this. I should you know what?
It's worth finding the info.
The video clip. Let me find it quick so you can listen to it here. But you won't be surprised, but it's still amazing to hear this. So let me see if I can I gotta see if I can find the video because it was awesome. I don't know if I'm gonna find it in time though, Brandon. But okay. I know I'm stalling right now. I apologize, but I wanted to play the clip. I have the quote right here, but I really, really want to play the clip here, but I don't think it's going to work for me. We'll see after this. Yeah, revenue-wise, they blew off the expectations for that, which was awesome to see.
Right.
It was really awesome to see. So, but this is like 35 minutes. This must be the whole thing. Anyways, Gabrielle Valdez-Dow, Packers Vice President of Marketing. On day one, we sold more beer on Thursday night than all 3 days of the Kansas City draft, all 3 days of the Detroit draft.
We did our part.
And she said, too, only one arrest. So
I know, because I had heard that number, and that's for Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, because I had heard that number. I'm like, okay, but and it's given everyone that people are there, just the law of numbers. I would have thought, okay, well, you'd think it would be more than that, but no, good on and then when you factor in our experience, like I never saw anybody like being like belligerent or anything.
No.
So like, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, we did our part.
We did. But when I'm like, day one sold more than combined the 3 other days than the other ones. Like, oh yeah.
Maybe you're gonna have some of them big time beer companies saying maybe we should go back to Green Bay a little bit quicker than we were thinking.
And honestly, let's be real here too. There's probably some carry-ins. So there's probably a little bit more.
I'm sure you had someone trying to find a way to, sneak one in the pouch or something. But yeah.
So there was probably some more. So, but yeah, I was like,
you bet.
So again, thank you to the texter a few days ago who set that in. And I didn't know if it was real, but yeah, that's the Packers Vice President of Marketing now saying that too. So
we did our part.
We sure did. Fist pound. There we go. All right, picks. Let's wrap it up here with some picks. We've got baseball back finally after an all-star break here. We've got some games.
Yeah, like it was like Wednesday and Thursday. I just woke up like this was one of the worst days of the summer. There's just nothing.
July is pretty slow.
I mean, thankfully yesterday we had the start of the Open.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't say British Open.
Nope, the Open.
The Open.
The Open.
So, by the way, Harman right now is in the lead at 8 under. Roy is up there 5 under.
Okay.
It looks like.
Like definitely, I think after the Masters, the Open's my second favorite major. I just love that it's on there in the morning, because of the time.
Oh,
difference.
that's Robert McIntyre. I'm sorry.
Oh.
It said R on there, but yeah, it's not Roy.
But like with the difference of it being overseas, I just love the fact that you wake up and it's just like, oh, well.
Rory is tied for 8th. Matt Fitzpatrick tied for 3rd. Yeah, Brian Harman is 8 under par.
And it wouldn't be completed with being the Open without being raining.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, Ricky Fowler's 1 under. Let's go, Ricky. That'd be Phil Mickelson is actually in contention.
There's some fun names in there.
There is. Yeah, he's 1 under through 7. He was even yesterday 1 under right now. So, all right. Baseball picks. Again, we're just doing a series since this is Friday. Boston, Chicago. This one actually starts in a few hours. 1:20.
Yeah.
A little scoreboard watching for this one.
I'm gonna go Boston. I mean, I'm curious because Boston, they won like 10 in a row going to the break, something crazy like that. Like, kind of curious to see how they do it coming out of the break. I'm sure like the Brewers and the Red Sox probably didn't want that break to come when it did because of how they were playing. But I'm gonna take the Red Sox 2 or 3.
Yeah, the Brewers one's interesting, right? Because of the way they're playing, but then Sal with the hamstring.
Right, yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
So it's like, which one would you rather have?
Right.
At that point. It's in Chicago. I'm gonna go Boston. Mostly is because that's wishful thinking. But Boston's playing really good. And hopefully they didn't cool down too much.
They worked their way back into playoff talk after that Devers trade and the way it was going. It's kind of like, ooh, but no, they've.
Yep. White Sox, Pirates.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Pirates.
I'm gonna go Pirates too. Let's go Angels and Phillies.
Phillies.
Phillies. Padres, Nationals.
Padres.
Giants in the first place. Blue Jays in Toronto.
I'm gonna go Giants.
I'm gonna go Toronto. Let's go Reds and Mets.
I'm gonna go Reds.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Mets. Royals and the Marlins.
Royals.
Yeah, me too. A's and Guardians.
Guards.
I'm gonna go Guardians too. Yankees, Braves.
I will go Yankees.
Same here. Baltimore, Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa. Detroit and Texas.
Detroit.
The Prince Fielder series. Detroit. St. Louis, Arizona.
St. Louis.
Cardinals. Astros, Mariners.
Astros.
It's a close one. I'm
It
going to go
is,
Astros. Minnesota, Colorado.
I'm going to go Twinkies.
Twins. And then Brewers, Dodgers.
This is I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit on this because, like, obviously the Brewers just swept them, but it's like that's not gonna happen again. I mean, I'm just not gonna win all 6, but like,
it'd be awesome.
It would. I'm gonna go Dodgers 2-3.
I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but like, the biggest thing is don't get swept because not for obvious reasons, but also like make sure you win that season series with the Dodgers just in case it comes down to any sort of tiebreaker.
That's true.
So I'm going to take Dodgers 2-3.
I'm going to keep up with tradition. I picked the Dodgers in every single game, so I'm going to go Dodgers. And Dodgers win the series. I'll just keep it like that. Dodgers win the series.
Dodgers win the series.
Yep. So, what is the biggest question mark you have about this Brewers team as we start the second half?
Can the offense continue to sustain the improvements they've seemingly made over the last month or two?
Can they win with that style of offense, the grind it out, manufacturing runs sort of thing?
Can they win? Yes. Can they win the playoffs? That's to be determined. Because the last couple of years, that's kind of how they've been. And just in general, like, their offense has struggled in the postseason. Like, can you do that? You know, can you grind out a bunch of 2-1 wins? I don't know. In the postseason, like, you know, one more big bat makes a difference to me. Like, again, you get Eugenio Suarez, suddenly that's an offense I feel good about.
Because you put him right in the middle.
You park him in the middle.
Yep.
And then suddenly, like, if you're hitting Isaac Collins and Caleb Durbin 8-9, just for example, like, okay, given their improvements, like, I can buy that. I can work with that.
Yeah. And kind of that, I guess, goes hand in hand. Are they going to make a move?
Right. They will make moves. Now, are they moves that move the needle? Are they moves that, like, you know, the show after you have people texting in like, yeah, like, I'm excited. Like, you know, 2 years ago, you know, Mark Canha. I like Mark Canha as a player. He did very well for them, but that wasn't exactly a move people were like rushing to the box office to buy or rushing online to buy tickets for games because, you know, Mark Canha got acquired.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting couple weeks here.
It is.
Because at some point, too, you're just kind of like in, you know, obviously if it's players involved with the deal, you hate to see that go. But then it also, I would think, sends a message within the clubhouse, too. Like the front office thinks you guys can win if you make a big move like that, right?
Yeah, if you take that swing, you're kind of like, oh, it's on us now.
Right. We put them in that position to make a decision, whether to be a buyer or seller. They buy. Let's go.
Yeah, the trade deadline is 2 weeks from yesterday. And the thing I'm kind of curious about with the Brewers, and I guess it could apply to the Cubs too, like, if you make a move, do you make a move before that series? That's the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before the deadline.
Yeah.
Do you try to make a move maybe that weekend? in part because you want to make sure you've got whoever your big fish is.
The other part too, do you counter if somebody makes a move?
Yeah,
I don't see the Brewers doing that.
I don't think that would happen,
Yeah.
but yeah,
like I could see if the Brewers made a move first, I could see the Cubs trying to counter. Like, okay, just not for that series alone, but for division
just
race.
in general,
Yeah,
because that's the team you're battling,
right.
But I'm kind of curious, like a week from now, during that Marlins series, is that when if the Brewers make a big move, that's when they make it?
Yeah. Because they only play the Cubs one more time after that's that 5-game series in 4 days.
There's still 8 games left against the Cubs. Like, that's gigantic because if one of those teams wins, say, 6 of the 8, 5 of the 8, like, that's a big difference.
Right. There's so many. I think we're starting to see a little bit of a separate. Like, it seems like nationally we have that line where it's like, okay, Diamondbacks below. Everybody's kind of sellers now, it feels like.
Yeah, and then kind of the Braves, too. There'll be another team that's going to be important to watch for some of their, their pieces.
But you can kind of see, like, how many games back are these teams? Like, the Reds are still only 2.5 back from a wild card spot.
Yeah, and they're going to hang, even if they're not big buyers, like, they'll probably hang, they won't sell.
Right. Really quick, I know it was last week, but we only got about a minute and a half. It's hard to assess, but the draft was last week for the Brewers.
Yeah, I mean I'm not the biggest, like, I watched bits and pieces of it. I mean, you got their top draft pick, third baseman. They're going to give a shot from Tennessee, like, big power guy. Like, he'll jump in. He's a guy that, who knows if things click, could move relatively quickly. I mean, college guys have the possibility of moving quickly because they're a little bit older. I mean, there was a priority on high school pitching, it seems.
Yeah.
The way they operated their draft, like, to try to maximize the amount of people they sign. Because remember, just the rules are different. But I mean, there was nothing I had seen there that kind of surprised me. Just with how they operate and stuff like that. So
right. Yep. All right. Shot clock's going to cut me off in 30 seconds. So if you missed our quarter of a century teams, Brandon did the Brewers. I did the Packers. We'll put that up in our podcast after we shut the mics off for this week.
For the weekend.
For the weekend. Yeah. So that'll be up. I'll upload it as soon as we're done here in just a few seconds. So, Brewers tonight, late one, 9:10.
Yep, out on the West Coast, then Seattle early next week. So might be a late night.
Yep, exactly. So stay up a little bit late. It's nice that we're heading into weekend. So, yeah. But I know some people still work tomorrow too. So, but we'll be at coverage will begin about half hour beforehand tonight on the radio dials 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Have a good weekend. We'll be back at it Monday morning, same place, same time. We'll see you then.